Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfic guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What Deku Becomes Deadliest Anti-Hero. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Yagi, once a bright and hopeful child, had his life turned upside down when he was diagnosed as quirkless. This diagnosis shattered his dreams of becoming a hero, and his once loving family seemed to forget about him. His parents, along with his extended family, turned their backs on him, leaving him to navigate a world filled with bullying and isolation. His twin sister, Izumi, and her friends from Class 1A tormented him relentlessly, mocking his aspirations and inflicting emotional pain. Despite this, Izuku found solace in the support of his childhood friends, Momo Yaoyorozu and Jiro. They stood by him, offering friendship and kindness in a world that felt increasingly hostile. One day, while being treated for injuries sustained during a confrontation with his tormentors, Izuku reassured Momo and Kyoka that he was fine. They expressed concern for him, especially after he had defended them from bullies. Izuku's selflessness shone through as he insisted that their safety was all that mattered to him. Momo suggested they inform her uncle, Night Eye, about the situation, but Izuku hesitated, not wanting to burden him. Instead, they decided to go to Kyoka's home. As they walked, they encountered a crowd, and Izuku's heart sank when he spotted his sister, Izumi, being held by a man with white hair and piercing blue eyes. This man, known as All for One, had a sinister reputation. He used his telekinetic abilities to draw Izuku closer, demanding the presence of All Might and his wife, Tornado. The atmosphere grew tense as the media gathered, and soon All Might arrived, recognizing his old foe. All for One taunted All Might, revealing Izuku and Izumi to the crowd. All Might's protective instincts kicked in as he demanded the release of his daughter and the boy he had once forgotten. Inko, Izuku's mother, expressed confusion, realizing that Izuku looked familiar. All for One reveled in the moment, reminding them of their neglected son. As memories flooded back, both parents were confronted with the painful truth of their neglect over the years. They had showered Izumi with love and attention while leaving Izuku to suffer alone. Inko's heart broke as she realized the consequences of her actions, and All Might grappled with feelings of failure as a father. All for One reveled in their despair, declaring that the symbol of peace was now just a shadow of a father. The revelation of Izuku's suffering was laid bare for all to see, forcing his parents to confront the reality of their choices and the impact it had on their son. Izumi was a daughter whom her father cared for deeply, the one he considered his true child. As she cried out for her parents, the tension in the air was palpable. All for One, the villain, taunted them with the choice of whom to save, reminding them of the son they had neglected, a boy whose friends had made his life miserable. As the father observed the scene, he noticed Izumi's tears but failed to see the pain in Izuku's eyes. In a moment of desperation, Izuku expressed his anger and frustration, demanding that his father choose Izumi, the only child he had left, and abandon him as he always had. The father hesitated, caught between his children, but ultimately called out for Izumi. All for One seized the moment, tossing Izumi toward them, and her cries echoed in the chaos. Before they could leave, Izuku had something to say. He vowed that if he escaped, he would return to confront All for One. He promised his friends, Momo and Kyoka, that he would survive and come back to them. All for One, however, had other plans, intending to turn Izuku into a monster meant for destruction. Unfazed, Izuku challenged him, ready to fight against whatever horrors awaited him. As the heroes tried to intervene, it was too late. Inko, Izuku's mother, broke down in tears while the media swarmed the scene, desperate for answers about Izuku's fate. Momo and Kyoka were devastated, mourning the loss of their friend and crush, yet they held on to the hope that Izuku would keep his promise. Meanwhile, Izuku found himself in a lab, chained and stripped of his quirk. All for One gloated about his plans to transform Izuku into an artificial Nomu, a mindless puppet under his control. Despite the dire situation, Izuku remained defiant, refusing to back down. In another part of the world, Izuku's uncle Mirai was consumed with worry, focused solely on finding his nephew with the help of Gran Torino, Recovery Girl, and Momo's group. Momo and Kyoka had distanced themselves from others, determined to become heroes and search for Izuku, while their families also felt the weight of his disappearance. Back in captivity, Izuku endured the torment of All for One, who reveled in his plans to alter Izuku's very being. However, just as All for One was about to unleash his wrath, an explosion shook the facility. A guard rushed in, warning of an intruder. To Izuku's surprise, it was Batman, his idol, who had come to rescue him. As Batman confronted All for One, Izuku felt a surge of hope. Batman swiftly incapacitated the villain and freed Izuku, who was grateful to leave the horrors behind. They navigated through the chaos, and despite the devastation surrounding them, Izuku was determined to escape. Once outside, they boarded the Batwing, and Batman assured Izuku that he would be taken care of. As they flew back to the States, Izuku reflected on the ordeal he had endured, knowing that he had survived and was now on the path to freedom. Upon arriving at a mansion, he was welcomed into the Batcave, ready to begin a new chapter in his life. Batman removed his mask, revealing his true identity. Izuku had always suspected that Batman was wealthy, given the impressive array of gadgets he possessed. Thomas Wayne, the man behind the mask, confirmed Izuku's suspicions. He acknowledged the boy's keen observation and proceeded to examine the quirks that All for One had bestowed upon him. To Thomas's surprise, Izuku had 7 powerful quirks, each one more impressive than the last. As Thomas assessed each quirk, he expressed disbelief that All for One had allowed Izuku to possess such strength. Izuku explained that his captor had underestimated the likelihood of anyone searching for him, assuming that no one would care to rescue a quirkless child. Batman, however, had easily found him, demonstrating his exceptional skills. Thomas began to detail Izuku's quirks. The first was bullet creation, which allowed him to create any bullet he envisioned, provided he had a weapon in hand. However, using this quirk made him hungry due to the energy it consumed. The second quirk, burning regeneration, caused a painful burning sensation during healing, requiring mental strength to endure without losing consciousness. The third quirk, Eye Zone, enabled Izuku to scan individuals, learning their physical and mental attributes, including weaknesses and allergies. Overuse of this quirk could lead to bleeding from the eyes. The fourth quirk, Aura, allowed him to emit a pressure that could incapacitate others, but it also resulted in debilitating headaches if overused. The fifth quirk, Chains, permitted Izuku to summon chains from his body, which could be used for capture or combat. Each use resulted in blood loss, necessitating iron supplements for recovery. The sixth quirk, Dragon Lineage, granted him the ability to withstand fire, transform parts of his body into dragon-like features, and manipulate flames. However, excessive use of this quirk had unexpected side effects. Finally, the seventh quirk, Kaioken, allowed Izuku to double his physical abilities in battle, though it came with the risk of severe muscle pain. Thomas concluded that these quirks made Izuku exceptionally powerful, far surpassing any current hero. Despite his impressive abilities, Izuku felt he still had room for growth. He expressed concern that All for One would come after him, putting his loved ones in danger. Thomas suggested that they create a new identity for Izuku, allowing him to evade detection. Izuku chose the name Jason Todd, hoping it would help him start anew. Thomas agreed to train him, but warned that the path of strength could lead to difficult choices. Izuku understood the weight of such decisions, having already faced the harsh realities of his past. He was determined to protect those he cared about, especially 2 girls who meant the world to him. Their training began in earnest, with Thomas focusing on enhancing Izuku's quirks and physical abilities. Izuku dedicated himself to rigorous exercise and meditation, striving to master various fighting styles and weaponry. He even crafted pistols from a synthetic metal fiber he had invented, designed to withstand the bullets he created. During a demonstration, Izuku fired a bullet that ignited upon impact, leaving a significant burn mark on the target. He realized that while he could create powerful bullets, he needed to balance their use with more conventional options. Thomas advised him to diversify his skills beyond firearms, emphasizing the importance of being prepared for any situation. As their training progressed, Izuku discovered that his dragon lineage quirk had grown stronger, enhancing his senses and physical capabilities. He could even fly, albeit with limitations. Thomas reassured him that as he matured, his strength would only increase. Izuku's thoughts occasionally drifted to the complexities of his relationships with the two girls he cared for. Thomas, sensing his concerns, promised to guide him in navigating those feelings while reminding him of the importance of respect and consent. With each passing day, Izuku transformed, preparing himself for the challenges that lay ahead. He was determined to become a hero not just in name, but in action, ready to protect those he loved from any threat. Both Momo and Kyoka, along with their families, decided to distance themselves from those who had caused them pain. As a result, Momo and Kyoka transferred to a different school. Izuku was pleased to hear this news and felt a sense of relief. Thomas, a seasoned mentor, suggested they return to their training. Izuku had developed a unique ability known as the Eye Zone, which allowed him to perceive detailed information about others, including their attributes, weaknesses, age, and names. As he focused, he shared his insights with Thomas, who was impressed by Izuku's potential. Thomas encouraged him to use his quirk strategically, noting that it could enhance his combat abilities. Izuku acknowledged that he had plans for his past, which fueled his determination. During their training, Izuku unleashed his aura, which was intense enough to leave Thomas struggling to maintain his footing. Izuku felt a surge of power but also experienced discomfort in his body. Thomas explained that this strain was a natural part of pushing one's limits. They continued their training, with Izuku learning to control his abilities, including a technique called Kaioken that enveloped him in a red aura. As they trained, Izuku's body reacted to the strain, but he remained focused on mastering his skills. Thomas guided him through the process, emphasizing the importance of perseverance. After a rigorous session, Izuku expressed his hunger, prompting them to take a break and find something to eat. Meanwhile, in Japan, Nizu was discussing Izuku's situation with the Jiro family, the Yaoyorozu family, and Sir Night-Eye. Mirai was concerned about his nephew training with Thomas, while Nizu reassured everyone that Izuku was safe. Momo and Kyoka expressed their longing to visit him, but Nizu explained that Izuku needed time alone to focus on his training and personal growth. He revealed that Izuku was determined to become stronger to protect those he cared about, especially since he had lost much of his past due to the actions of a villain named All for One. The families understood the gravity of Izuku's situation and promised to support him upon his return. They resolved to welcome him back without fear, accepting him for who he had become. Momo and Kyoka even declared their intention to marry him, which brought smiles to their faces. As they left, Nizu contemplated the challenges Izuku would face upon his return, knowing that there would be consequences for those who had hurt him. In the next chapter, Thomas prepared Jason, Izuku's new identity, for his first solo mission. Jason, now 16 and having trained diligently for 7 years, was ready to embrace his new role. Thomas had taken him around the world to show him the brighter side of life, emphasizing the importance of hope and joy in the midst of darkness. As Jason donned his new anti-hero outfit, he expressed gratitude to Thomas for the thoughtful gift. Thomas had instilled in him a sense of purpose, and now Jason was tasked with a critical mission to dismantle a dangerous drag operation. He was determined to carry out his duties effectively, ready to confront the challenges ahead. With a sense of resolve, Jason set off on his motorcycle, prepared to face his first mission alone, embodying the lessons he had learned and the strength he had gained. He felt a surge of nerves, but he knew what he had to do. Upon arriving at the destination, he dismounted his bike and activated his scanner. The display revealed a grim scene: 20 people involved in drag production, 20 guards armed with pistols, and 3 imposing figures stationed by a door. In the distance, he spotted the leader in an office, and 2 bodies, one female and a small girl, caught his attention. He wondered what had brought them there. With determination, he approached the door, drew his pistols, and kicked it open. He launched into action, firing at the chaos around him. The guards panicked, scrambling for safety, but they were no match for his precision. One guard attempted to reach for a knife, but he swiftly shot him in the head, sending him crashing to the ground. The three large men turned their attention to him, sizing him up. One of the big guys boasted about his strength, but he was met with a confident response. As they charged, he seized one of their arms and snapped his wrist, eliciting a scream. Another, wielding a knife, found his weapon turned against him as he was disarmed and incapacitated. The remaining two attackers lunged simultaneously, but he activated a powerful technique, enveloping himself in a red aura. He grabbed one of the men by the waist and executed a German suplex, following up with multiple shots to the head. The last of the three boasted about his quirk, claiming his skin was as tough as steel. However, he was in for a surprise when the bullets he fired exploded, leaving the man in pieces. With the immediate threat neutralized, he moved toward the office, kicking in the door. Inside, the dealer demanded to know the whereabouts of his men and his cook. He responded coldly, revealing that they were burning in hell, where the dealer would soon join them. The dealer, desperate, offered him money to become his bodyguard, but his attention was drawn to the little girl in the room. He shot the dealer in the shoulder and turned to the girl, who looked frightened and vulnerable. She explained that her mother was an addict who had sold her to the dealer, and she longed for her father. The dealer attempted to justify his actions, but he silenced him with a shot that caused him excruciating pain. He instructed the girl to close her eyes and cover her ears before confronting the dealer one last time. He grabbed him by the throat, delivering a final message before setting him ablaze, watching as the man screamed in agony. As the flames consumed the dealer, he turned his attention to the girl's mother, who was scratching her arm and offering her daughter in exchange for drags. Without hesitation, he ended her life, ensuring she would no longer pose a threat. He then took the girl by the hand and led her out of the warehouse, where a man was waiting anxiously. The girl ran to her father, who embraced her tightly, tears of relief streaming down his face. She explained how he had saved her from the bad man. The father expressed his gratitude, acknowledging the loss of his wife to drags, and thanked him for his help. He warned the father to leave quickly, tossing a grenade into the building, which was about to erupt in flames. The father promised to be a great dad to his daughter, and they parted ways. As he rode home on his bike, he reflected on the evil that permeated the world. He vowed to rid it of darkness, to become a symbol of death, and to ensure that only those with good hearts would thrive. If becoming a monster was the price to pay, he would accept it. Upon arriving home, he found his father covered in blood. They exchanged brief words about their missions, both having dealt with the darkness in their own ways. His father praised him for his work, and they agreed to clean up and have a meal together. Months passed since his first mission, and he had established a reputation as a relentless force against evil. He had saved countless lives, and while law enforcement around the world sought to identify him, the victims refused to betray him, standing by his side. Now, he stood before the United Nations building, confronted by armed guards. He made it clear that they could try to take him down, but they would only leave as corpses. The guards warned him that his presence declared war on the world, but he calmly stated that he had been summoned. A figure emerged, introducing himself as Mr. Richards, the one who had called for him. Inside the office, Mr. Richards revealed his daughter had been kidnapped by her boyfriend and older brother. Regret filled his voice as he admitted he had misjudged the boy. He sought Jason's help to rescue his daughter, desperate to make things right. Jason had been hired for a dangerous mission. He was aware that Richard, a desperate father, was willing to pay a significant sum to rescue his daughter from her boyfriend and his older brother. Richard had made it clear that he did not condone killing, but the circumstances were dire. After a brief exchange, Jason revealed that he had managed to hack into the city's security system and pinpoint the location of the kidnapped girl. Richard was impressed, noting that even his top operatives could not accomplish such a feat. Jason's confidence was evident. He was not like anyone else. With a plan in place, Jason set off in his jet, arriving at an abandoned warehouse outside the city within 45 minutes. As he approached the building, he prepared himself for the confrontation ahead. He stealthily made his way inside, using his grappling hook to access an open window. Once inside, he moved silently, relying on his training to avoid detection. On the floor where the girl was held captive, he overheard a tense conversation between her boyfriend, Jake, and his brother, Jack. They were expressing their grievances against Richard, blaming him for their father's downfall and subsequent death. Their plan was to extort money from Richard by threatening his daughter, intending to sell her into a life of servitude. Jason knew he had to intervene. He revealed himself, stating that he was there to save Richard's daughter. He presented evidence of the true nature of their father's business dealings, explaining that Richard had tried to help them but was too late. This revelation angered Jake, who charged at Jason in a fit of rage. In a swift motion, Jason defended himself, taking down both Jake and Jack. After the confrontation, Jason approached the girl, Rose, who was devastated by the loss of her boyfriend. He expressed his sorrow for the situation, but she reassured him that she would be okay, despite the pain. Once the mission was complete, Jason contacted Richard to inform him that his daughter was safe. Richard arrived quickly, grateful for Jason's assistance. The police were called to the scene, and Richard insisted they recognize Jason's efforts. After receiving his payment, Jason left the warehouse, satisfied with the outcome. A few days later, Jason watched a news report featuring Richard, who had become the United Nations president. Richard announced that he had hired Red Hood to rescue his daughter and praised Jason's effectiveness. He declared that Red Hood would be granted diplomatic immunity, allowing him to operate freely around the world without fear of repercussions. Jason's father, Thomas, congratulated him on this new development, suggesting that he could use this opportunity to make a positive impact. Jason was determined to use his newfound status to confront the injustices of the world and to reunite with the important people in his life. As he continued his patrols, Jason encountered various challenges, including a confrontation with a group of heroes who sought to apprehend him. They believed he was too ruthless in his methods and wanted to help him find a better path. Jason, however, was resolute in his belief that he was delivering justice, even if it meant taking lives. Despite their attempts to persuade him, Jason remained steadfast in his mission, feeling that he was the only one who truly understood the suffering that existed in the world. He was determined to continue his fight against crime, even if it meant standing alone against those who wished to stop him. Jason was determined to redeem himself, believing that he had a mission to eliminate every villain that crossed his path. He saw himself as the answer to those who cried out for help, the nightmare of villains, and the one who cleansed the world of evil. He embraced his identity as Red Hood, the Angel of Death. Despite the darkness that resided deep within him, there were those who believed that a flicker of light still existed in his heart, suggesting that he could still be reached. Among them was Selina Kyle, known as Catwoman, who was 29 years old and had a reputation for retrieving stolen items and returning them to their rightful owners. There was also Kara Zor-El, known as Supergirl, the last of her people, who longed for acceptance and to be treated as more than just a freak. At the age of Dinah Laurel Lance, known as Black Canary, was a metahuman with a high-pitched scream that subdued her enemies. At 30 years old, she had become an expert martial artist but struggled with trust issues stemming from her past trauma. Rachel Roth, also known as Raven, was the daughter of a human woman and an interdimensional demon. At 21, she dealt with her own set of challenges, including complicated feelings about her father. Coriandar, or Starfire, was an exiled princess at the age of 18, having fled her home due to her sister's coup. She had come to Earth seeking a new life. Shayera Hole, known as Hawkgirl, was 32 and a military expert who had betrayed her people for the greater good, now roaming Earth as a hero. As they followed Jason to a warehouse, he kicked open the door to reveal a horrifying auction where children were being sold as slaves. The sight struck the group deeply, and Jason explained that he was fighting for the children so they wouldn't have to suffer as others had. He declared that no one would leave the warehouse alive. With a fierce determination, Jason began to take down the people in the auction, ignoring their pleas for mercy. Meanwhile, the women rushed to free the children, who hugged them tightly, crying in gratitude. As Jason fought, he skillfully dodged attacks and eliminated his enemies with precision. The last remaining villain, the one in charge, fell to his knees, begging for his life and promising to stop his operations if spared. Jason demanded the location of the supplier and all the children he had sold. After receiving the information, he ended the man's life without hesitation. With the evidence secured, Jason sent the information to the authorities and prepared to pursue the supplier for more leads. One of the rescued children hugged his leg, prompting him to kneel and reassure the child that they were safe and would be going home. The other children rushed to him, expressing their gratitude with warm embraces. As the women observed Jason, they noted that while his heart seemed closed off, he showed a softer side when it came to the children. They speculated that he saw himself in them, which fueled his drive to protect them. Jason informed the children that the women would help them return home while he dealt with the suppliers. After leaving the children in capable hands, Jason sought out the supplier and dealt with him ruthlessly, extracting information about his warehouses before sending the details to the police. Upon returning home, he hoped the girls were managing well with the children. Back at the Batcave, Thomas, Jason's father, indicated they needed to discuss a matter concerning his wife, who was planning something uncertain. Jason listened intently, ready to address whatever threat lay ahead. As they prepared for their next mission, tracking the Joker and Harley Quinn, they speculated about the villainous duo's intentions. Thomas warned Jason to be cautious, especially if they were indeed meeting a powerful adversary. They climbed into the Batmobile and headed toward an abandoned warehouse, where an unsettling silence greeted them. Upon arrival, they were quickly surrounded by thugs. Jason, noticing the tension, readied his weapon, while Thomas shared his unease about the situation. Suddenly, Harley Quinn appeared, welcoming them to a chaotic showdown orchestrated by the Joker. As the thugs charged, Jason and Thomas fought back, working in tandem to take down their attackers. After dispatching the last of the thugs, they cautiously moved deeper into the warehouse, where they were met with a grim sight of lifeless bodies. The atmosphere was thick with danger, and they knew they had to remain vigilant as they ventured further into the unknown. They searched the area, realizing something was amiss. Thomas noted the striking similarities among the bodies they encountered. They all shared the same race, age, height, eye color, hair, and facial features. Jason, puzzled, wondered what the Joker could possibly want. As they ventured deeper, Thomas called out to Martha, concerned about her actions. Upon entering a room filled with bodies, Thomas's worry intensified. Each body bore an increasingly uncanny resemblance to him. He called out for Martha, and Jason checked on his father, sensing his distress. Thomas pointed out that the facial features resembled those of his son, Bruce. Jason questioned his certainty, but Thomas affirmed it without hesitation. Unsure of their next move, they approached the final door. When they opened it, they found the Joker accompanied by Harley. Martha greeted them, revealing her intentions to correct a past mistake. She accused Thomas of replacing their son, claiming he never truly loved Bruce. Thomas expressed his anger at the one who had taken Bruce's life, stating he would have killed the person responsible with his bare hands. Martha, however, chastised him for failing to protect their son, insisting that he had let Bruce die. Jason interjected, defending his father, but Martha continued her tirade, implying that Thomas had sought a replacement for Bruce. Thomas denied this, insisting that Jason was his own person. Martha's actions were shrouded in mystery, and then a voice emerged, addressing Thomas's father. It was Bruce, but not the Bruce they remembered. Martha explained that she had discovered the Lazarus Pit and attempted to transfer Bruce's soul into an adult body, but the experiment had gone awry, resulting in a fractured mind. Bruce introduced himself as the Batman who laughs, a dark reflection of the son Thomas once knew. Thomas desperately offered to help, but Bruce rejected the notion. Martha claimed control over Bruce, commanding him to eliminate Thomas and Jason. In a shocking turn of events, Bruce turned on his mother, fatally wounding her. As she fell, Thomas reacted instinctively, firing at Bruce, but he evaded the bullets. Jason tried to join the fight but was intercepted by Harley. The battle raged on, with Jason grappling with Harley, trying to subdue her. Meanwhile, Thomas pleaded with Bruce, expressing his remorse for past mistakes. Bruce, consumed by anger, reminded Thomas of his abandonment in the alley, where he had met his tragic fate. Thomas acknowledged his guilt but insisted that he would always carry that burden. He implored Bruce to let him help, but Bruce declared that the only identity remaining was the Batman who laughs. As the fight continued, Jason managed to overpower Harley, But the chaos escalated when he witnessed Bruce stab Thomas through the heart. Overcome with grief, Jason unleashed his power, launching Bruce away. He rushed to his father, who was fading fast. Thomas urged Jason to conserve his strength, accepting his fate. He requested to be placed near Martha, touching her cheek tenderly. Thomas expressed his love for Bruce, even in death, before passing away. Jason, filled with rage and sorrow, saw Bruce laughing amidst the turmoil. Just as he prepared to confront him, Bruce activated a device, warning Jason that the place was about to explode. Jason, realizing the urgency, grabbed Harley and escaped just in time to witness the explosion, while Bruce flew away. Months passed since Thomas Wayne's death, and Jason managed to convince the media that it was due to a heart attack. He received news from Thomas's lawyer, informing him that he was now the owner of all Wayne Enterprises. Despite the newfound power, Jason felt a deep sadness, wishing he could have his father back. He vowed to save Bruce but knew he would not hesitate to end him if necessary. Meanwhile, Bruce, now the Batman who laughs, was in Japan, meeting with All for One. They discussed forming a partnership, with Bruce offering to reshape the world. Their alliance promised to be formidable. Back home, Jason returned after dismantling a drag den. He found Harley waiting for him, revealing that she had survived an encounter with the Batman who laughs and was now working for the government. She delivered a message from Bruce, indicating that he was heading to Japan to team up with All for One. Jason recognized the gravity of the situation and prepared for the journey ahead. Harley expressed her longing to assist Jason but acknowledged the need for training first. They agreed that she would prepare herself so as not to hinder him. With his bags packed and arrangements made for travel, Jason set out, determined to confront the challenges that lay ahead and to seek out his family, the ones who meant everything to him. Jason contacted Nizu to discuss a pressing issue. He informed Nizu that the Batman who laughs had formed an alliance with All for One, a situation that neither of them could overlook. Jason planned to travel to Japan to confront this threat directly and requested that several key individuals, including Sir Night-Eye, Gran Torino, Recovery Girl, and the families of Jiro and Yaoyorozu, be gathered at UA upon his arrival. Nizu agreed to make the necessary calls. A few hours later, Mirai arrived at UA, greeted by Gran Torino and Recovery Girl, who were puzzled about the purpose of their gathering. Momo and Kyoka soon joined them, having been summoned by Nizu as well. They speculated about the reason for their meeting, feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. As they entered the building, they noticed the students were anxious, some visibly trembling. Mirai approached Aizawa, who appeared particularly unsettled by the news of Red Hood's presence. The group soon found Jason and Nizu engaged in a game of chess, where Jason had just achieved a checkmate, a feat that impressed Nizu, who had never been defeated before. Nizu explained that Jason had requested the presence of everyone in the room. Mirai, still in disbelief, struggled to accept that the man before them was indeed Izuku, who had been presumed lost. Jason revealed that he now went by Jason and recounted his harrowing past. After being taken by All for One, he endured a year of experimentation, which left him with 7 quirks. Batman had ultimately rescued him, but the experience had changed him profoundly. Mirai was shocked to learn that Jason had been living in the world without contacting them for so long. Jason explained that it was for their safety, especially given the danger posed by All for One. He revealed that the only positive outcome of his ordeal was that he was no longer tied to his previous lineage, having had his DNA altered. As Jason shared his story, he revealed the tragic fate of Batman, who had been killed by his own son, the Batman who laughs. This villain had become a significant threat, having killed many heroes and politicians and now allied with All for One. Jason's mission was not only to confront this danger but also to reconnect with his family. Momo and Kyoka expressed their joy at seeing Jason again, sharing affectionate gestures that highlighted their bond. Jason complimented their growth and beauty, though his comments led to some playful embarrassment. He reassured Kyoka that he loved her for who she was, regardless of appearances. Jason then proceeded to explain his unique quirks, detailing their abilities and the drawbacks that accompanied them. He described how he could create bullets, heal with a burning sensation, scan individuals for weaknesses, emit a powerful aura, and summon chains for combat. Each quirk came with its own challenges, but they were a testament to his resilience and the journey he had endured. The group listened intently, realizing the weight of Jason's experiences and the importance of their upcoming confrontation with the villains threatening their world. They were united in their determination to protect their home and support one another in the face of adversity. Dragon Lineage was a powerful quirk that allowed its user to withstand fire, transform parts of their body into that of a dragon, and even turn their skin into scales. They could create wings to fly and manipulate fire at will. However, using this quirk excessively had its drawbacks, leading to overwhelming urges that could distract the user. Another quirk, known as Kaioken, enabled the user to double their strength, speed, stamina, and other senses during battle. With training, they could multiply this power, but the cost was severe muscle pain and physical strain throughout their body. Kayadaku admired the impressive quirks, and Lloyd agreed wholeheartedly. Jason, feeling content, expressed his happiness about being with Momo and Kyoka, stating that he had everything he needed right there with them. They all decided to hang out together, and Jason suggested they go home. He reminded Nizu that with but might becoming a teacher, they needed dorms prepared for the incoming threat of all for one. Nizu agreed to the request and promised to set up a floor for Jason, Momo, and Kyoka. As they stepped outside, they noticed their transportation had arrived in cars. Momo asked Jason how he got there, to which he proudly mentioned his vehicle. Kyoka was curious about what he meant, and Kayadaku clarified that he was referring to his car or bike. Jason confirmed it was indeed his prized possession, known as the Red Demon, a car banned worldwide for its speed and danger. He explained that he had diplomatic plates, which allowed him to drive it without issues. Despite the excitement, Momo and Kyoka expressed their concerns about Jason driving such a dangerous car. They insisted he should not drive it, but Jason reassured them that he could handle it, as he was experienced. Lloyd noted that not everyone could control such a powerful vehicle, and Kyoka still had her doubts, asking if he would be careful. Jason affirmed that he was responsible. Nimue suggested they figure out where to hang out, but Mirai interrupted, saying he had to decline due to a Yakuza case. Jason offered to help, but Mirai invited him to visit in a few days instead. After Mirai left, the group headed toward Momo's home. As they drove through their old town, Jason remarked that nothing had changed. After 30 minutes, they arrived at Momo's home simultaneously. They all entered and settled down, with Jason sitting between Momo and Kyoka, who each held onto one of his arms. Jason expressed how much he missed everyone and then shared his longing to marry both Kyoka and Momo. The girls blushed at the unexpected proposal, while Mika and Ya beamed with joy. Lloyd and Kayadaku smiled, knowing that Jason would bring happiness and protection to the girls. Jason acknowledged their youth but emphasized how hard he had trained to become strong. He was aware that his past would eventually catch up with him, and he vowed to protect them from any threats. Kayadaku asked Kyoka for her thoughts, while Lloyd turned to Momo, but both girls firmly stated they did not need constant protection. They had been training to become strong on their own and were determined to fight alongside Jason. Jason felt a mix of pride and gratitude for their strength. His grandfather, GT, affirmed their capabilities, and Jason acknowledged their resilience. He concluded that the matter was settled, and Jason thanked everyone for their support. Mika suggested it was time to celebrate, but when Jason inquired about beer, Momo playfully reminded him that he couldn't drink until he was 20. Jason shrugged off the rule, claiming it had never stopped him before, but his grandmother quickly reprimanded him, insisting he should not drink. The conversation shifted as GT updated everyone on the situation back home. Inko had become increasingly neglectful, focusing only on herself and yelling at Toshinori and Izumi for minor things. Kid even isolated Izumi from her friends and replaced her belongings each year. Toshinori, on the other hand, put on a brave face while working with the quirkless community, but he struggled with his own demons and overused his quirk. Jason listened intently as GT described Izumi's deteriorating state, revealing that she had become a shell of her former self, searching for him and neglecting her health. The group acknowledged the pain of their past, but Kyoka reminded Jason that they had distanced themselves from those who had caused them pain. They had moved schools and refused to look back, recognizing that some people only wanted to be friends with them to get closer to Jason. Kurenai and Chisato were curious about Jason's experiences, asking how many people he had killed. Jason admitted to taking over 15,000 lives, a number that shocked everyone. His grandmother questioned whether he felt remorse, and Jason explained that while he initially did, he had come to understand the harsh realities of the world. He believed that some villains would never change and that his actions were necessary to protect the innocent, especially children, who saw him as a hero rather than a monster. Jason came to a profound realization that children are the future and possess the power to change the world. Motivated by this belief, he resolved to make the world a better place for them, fully aware that his own fate might lead him to darkness. However, he was determined to take as many villains with him as he could. As he spoke, those around him recognized the truth in his words. They understood that he saw himself in those children, yearning for someone to save him from a world that had continually pushed him down. Momo and Kyoko were aware of the challenges ahead, but their love for him was unwavering. They vowed to stand by his side, no matter the circumstances. Lloyd reassured Izuku that they would always be there for him, echoing Kyoka's sentiment that they would never abandon him. Momo expressed her commitment to remain by his side. Grateful, Jason thanked them for their support. RG, intrigued by Jason's experiences, expressed a longing to examine him to understand what he had endured. Jason humorously referred to RG as Grandma, and Lloyd suggested turning on the TV. As the television flickered to life, they were met with a news report showcasing the chaos unfolding downtown, fire and destruction rampant. Jason stood up, recognizing the figures amidst the turmoil. He identified the Batman who laughs and all for one, prompting concern among his friends. Jason assured Momo that he would return safely, despite her worries. GT, eager to join, declared his intent to go with Jason, who playfully challenged his ability to keep up. With a flourish, Jason summoned his dragons, inviting GT to hop on his back. They departed, heading toward the source of the attack. Meanwhile, All for One addressed the world, revealing his identity and the nature of his quirk, which allowed him to steal, use, and bestow quirks. He introduced his team of villains, including the Batman who laughs, who was a target of global pursuit, and Tamura Shigaraki, who aimed to dismantle hero society. The group included notorious figures like Albert Wesker, Doflamingo, Lex Luthor, and Muzan, each with their own sinister intentions. Suddenly, a bullet struck Luthor, causing chaos among the assembled villains. A familiar voice emerged, revealing itself as Red Hood, who had returned with a vendetta against All for One. Jason Todd, also known as Izuku Yagi, made it clear that he intended to confront All for One directly. Inko, worried for her son, called out to him, but Jason dismissed her concerns, insisting that this was a personal matter. As Izumi and her friends arrived, Jason clarified that he was not a hero but an anti-hero, determined to eliminate villains. The Batman who laughs greeted Jason warmly, but their reunion was cut short as they prepared to leave, with Jason targeting Luthor before he transformed into a monstrous Titan. With a fierce determination, Jason engaged the Titan, showcasing his strength and skill. He unleashed his chain prison ability, ensnaring the Titan and bringing it to its knees. As he approached, All Might encouraged him, but Jason took decisive action, shooting the Titan in the head, resulting in its collapse. The world watched in shock as Jason pointed a gun at the camera, delivering a warning to the League of Villains. He declared that he would hunt them down, revealing his knowledge of Tamura Shigaraki's true identity and origins, taunting All for One in the process. Just as he was about to leave, an unexpected figure intervened, halting his departure. It was Kamui Woods who confronted Jason Todd, insisting that he needed to be taken into custody. Jason, however, was defiant, claiming diplomatic immunity. Kamui remained resolute, stating that he did not care about such claims and that Jason would be coming in regardless. Inko, Jason's mother, intervened, pleading with Kamui to stand down. She expressed her relief at finding her son alive and acknowledged the terrible mistakes she had made in the past. Inko desperately wanted to save him from whatever was controlling him. Jason, however, dismissed her concerns, taunting Kamui about the trouble he would face because of Inko's presence. When Kamui turned to see who Jason was pointing at, he was surprised to find Mrs. President standing behind him. Mrs. President informed Kamui that he could not arrest Jason due to his diplomatic immunity and thanked Jason for dealing with Lex Luthor, mentioning that they would be sending Luthor's body back to the States. Jason, unfazed, prepared to leave, making his wings appear and indicating that he had somewhere else to go. He instructed AM to meet him at Nizu's office in 3 days, and with GT hopping onto his back, he took off. Inko called out to him, urging him not to go, while Izumi, his sister, begged him to come back home. Jason ignored their pleas and flew away, leaving Inko to chase after him. However, the media quickly surrounded her, bombarding her with questions about her neglect and its consequences on Jason's life. They pressed her for comments on her son's transformation into a brutal anti-hero, questioning All Might about his role in creating the symbol of death. Inko broke down in tears as M took her and Izumi away from the scene. Meanwhile, Jason and GT shared a moment of dark amusement, with Jason laughing sinisterly about his plans, indicating that he had more to accomplish. 3 days had passed since the incident, and the League of Villains was now a top priority for capture, with only 11 members remaining after Jason had eliminated one of them. The Yagi family and the rest of Class 1A were rushing toward Yui, eager to see Izuku and save him. Upon their arrival, they were met by Aizawa, who warned them to behave and not provoke Izuku. Inside Nizu's office, they found Jason without his mask, engaged in a game of chess with Nizu. Inko immediately asked where her son was, to which Nizu coldly responded that he only saw Jason Todd. Jason, with a hint of sarcasm, questioned if she had seen a ghost. Ida attempted to assert authority, but Jason swiftly silenced him. AM, filled with concern, called out to Izuku, only for Jason to reveal that his current state was a result of DNA alterations made by a villain. The revelation shocked everyone present. Izumi pleaded for Jason to change back, but he coldly informed her that it was permanent, a change he had come to appreciate. Inko, filled with remorse, expressed her longing to help Jason heal from his trauma, insisting that he did not have to remain as Red Hood. She wanted him to be her son again. In a moment of rage, Jason confronted her, accusing her of never truly loving him and only caring for Izumi. He expressed his disappointment in her choices, questioning whether her actions were more important than her children. Inko, overwhelmed with emotion, begged for a chance to change, but Jason's response was harsh. He suggested that if she wanted another son, she should seek out All Might or someone else, implying that she had failed him as a mother. All Might, witnessing the exchange, felt the weight of Jason's words. Jason continued to lash out, pointing out All Might's failures and the consequences of his actions. He dismissed any notion of familial ties, asserting that his parents meant nothing to him. He warned Katsuki and Shoto against any attempts to confront him, asserting his demps. As the tension escalated, Jason made it clear that he was engaged to Momo and Kyoka, rejecting any claims from others who sought to be with him. He then revealed crucial information about a member of the League of Villains, Tamura Shigaraki, who was, in fact, the grandson of Nana Shimura. The revelation stunned everyone, as Jason detailed Shigaraki's tragic past and the CYCL of violence that had led to his current state. He concluded with a chilling remark about All Might's legacy, suggesting that everything he touched turned to ash. Jason walked toward the terrace of Momo's home, opening the door to find his uncle, Lloyd, smoking a cigarette. Lloyd requested that Jason not tell his wife about his habit, and in return, Jason asked for a lighter. They both lit up, sharing a moment of camaraderie. Jason expressed his remorse for any suffering he had caused Momo, but Lloyd reassured him that it wasn't his fault, it was the fault of his former family. Jason acknowledged that being back was what truly mattered. Lloyd informed Jason that his sister and her friends had attempted to reach out to Momo and Kyoka, but they had remained unyielding. Consequently, they had transferred the girls to different schools. Just then, a cough interrupted them, and they turned to see Momo and Yo approaching. Momo admonished Jason for smoking, while Yo looked concerned. In a moment of panic, Jason grabbed Lloyd and jumped to the floor, urging him to run. They fled, with Momo and Yo in pursuit. After splitting up, Jason hopped on his bike and headed toward the Todoroki home. Upon arrival, he rang the doorbell and was greeted by Fuyumi. He entered the living room, where he found Shoka, who seemed cheerful. However, her happiness was abruptly interrupted when Jason approached Shoto, shooting him in the knees and brandishing a knife near his eyes. Jason warned Shoto to stay away from Momo, making it clear that he would not hesitate to harm him if he got too close. As Jason prepared to leave, Shoka tried to stop him, but he glared at her, causing her to step aside in fear. He then sought out Denki, discovering him with Mineta at a store. Jason confronted Denki, dragging him into an alleyway. After breaking Denki's arm, he threatened him with a knife, warning him to stay away from Kyoka. Denki, terrified and in tears, promised to heed his warning. After leaving Denki in distress, Jason rode his bike through the streets, catching the attention of someone watching him. As he donned his helmet and sped away, the figure pursued him, eventually landing in front of him in an alleyway. Jason pointed a gun at the figure, revealing it to be All Might. The hero sought to talk, acknowledging the hatred Jason felt toward him for past actions. All Might expressed his longing for his wife and daughter to be happy, pleading for Jason to give them a chance, despite the pain he had caused. Jason was determined to confront the hatred directed at him. He had a conversation with AM, who seemed desperate to understand the situation regarding Izumi and the power known as One for All. Jason found AM's naivety pathetic, especially when he learned that Izumi had not wanted the power for herself but had intended for Jason to inherit it. Jason firmly rejected the idea of passing the power to anyone with a quirk, explaining that the past users of One for All had all met untimely ends. He warned AM that those with quirks often had their lives drained much quicker than those without, suggesting that the next user would be significantly stronger and would likely only have a few years to live. AM, feeling defeated, suggested that Jason should give the power to Melissa, believing she would be a worthy recipient. Jason agreed, stating that AM was not fit to train her. He expressed his indifference towards AM's family, showing no concern for their well-being. In a moment of desperation, AM offered to pay Jason for his help, even going so far as to kneel and plead for Jason to take drastic action if it meant giving his family a chance to be in his life. Jason's uncle, Mirai, intervened, pulling Jason away and promising to take AM home. As they left, Mirai warned AM that Jason was planning to adopt a little girl soon, and if anyone from AM's past caused her distress, they would face serious consequences. With that, Mirai took AM home while Jason returned to his apartment, where he found Kyoka and Momo waiting for him, visibly upset. They confronted him about his recent actions towards Shoto and Denki, which they deemed excessive. Jason defended himself, claiming that they had tried to take what belonged to him. In a moment of possessiveness, Jason asserted that Kyoka and Momo belonged to him and that he would not hesitate to discipline them if necessary. Despite their embarrassment, they acknowledged his authority. Jason informed them that he would be on a mission the following day, and they agreed to watch a movie together, with Jason requesting that they dress in a specific way. The next day, Jason prepared for his mission, donning his red hood outfit and gathering his weapons. Kyoka and Momo expressed their curiosity about his mission and offered their assistance, but Jason insisted he could handle it alone. However, he playfully suggested that a kiss would help him feel stronger. Both girls blushed at his words, and while they were tempted, they understood the need to wait. Before leaving, Jason reassured them that they would train together after his mission. He shared a final kiss with them before heading out on his motorcycle to meet Mirai at his office. Upon arrival, Mirai welcomed him inside and explained the case he needed help with. Mirai revealed that a man named Kai Chisaki was involved in suspicious activities, including the creation of bullets that could erase quirks. Jason recalled that Batman had been investigating Chisaki, who had risen to power after the previous leader fell into a coma. Mirai shared that they had discovered blood on one of the bullets, which was linked to the last leader's granddaughter, Eri. It turned out that Eri had a quirk that allowed her to rewind things, and her father had suffered greatly because of it. Mirai suspected that Chisaki was experimenting on her to create his deadly bullets. As they discussed the case further, Jason learned that the bodies of Chisaki's team had been found, mutilated in a gruesome manner. Mirai suspected that the League of Villains was involved, suggesting a dangerous alliance between them and Chisaki. With limited evidence, Mirai asked Jason to carry out a mission alone, creating a diversion that would allow heroes and police to intervene. Jason agreed, knowing he had a tight time frame to work with, but he felt confident that he could handle the task ahead. Jason was resolute in his decision, refusing to clean up the mess he had made. Mirai urged him to ensure the girl was saved from danger, expressing concern about the urgency of the situation. Jason reassured Mirai that he would take action immediately, dismissing the need for preparation. He encouraged Mirai to come out from hiding as the doors swung open, revealing Inko, who approached him with worry in her eyes. Inko pleaded with Jason not to go, emphasizing the dangers that lay ahead. She suggested they investigate further to capture the threat together. However, Jason was determined. He could not allow an innocent girl to suffer at the hands of a villain. He declared his intention to go inside, insisting that nothing would stop him. Inko's heart ached as she confronted her son. She reminded him that killing was wrong, questioning where the sweet, innocent boy had gone, the boy who once believed in saving everyone and wore a smile like his father's. Inko felt the darkness that enveloped Jason but held on to the hope that her son was still inside, trapped beneath the weight of his turmoil. She called out to him, yearning for the return of the boy she knew and loved. Inko was puzzled by the situation, questioning what was so amusing. Jason confronted her with a harsh reality, revealing that the little boy she had neglected was no longer present. He explained that the boy had been deprived of parental love and support, betrayed by a sister who was supposed to protect him, and tormented by friends who made his life difficult. Jason expressed that he had become the product of her neglect, transformed from a sweet child into a ruthless figure known as Red Hood, a creation of Inko and her husband. Inko insisted that Jason's father was still a part of his life, but Jason vehemently rejected that notion, stating he had buried his true father, Thomas Wayne, with his own hands. He expressed that he wanted nothing to do with the man Inko referred to as his father and demanded she step aside. Despite her reluctance, Inko could see the seriousness in Jason's eyes, realizing he would not hesitate to harm her. Mirai, witnessing the tension, urged Inko to move, warning her that Jason had no qualms about hurting women. Inko believed that Jason would never hurt his mother, but the sight of him aiming a gun at her head made her reconsider. Jason's chilling words made it clear that if Inko did not comply, her daughter would be left with only one parent. Inko stepped aside, acknowledging the danger she was in. Jason thanked her and requested 2 hours to unleash his pent-up anger. Mirai, concerned for Inko's safety, reminded her that Jason would not hesitate to kill if provoked. Inko, desperate to reconnect with her son, asked Mirai if there was any way to bring Jason back to her. Mirai revealed a grim vision of Inko standing at Toshinori's tombstone if things continued as they were. He advised her to leave Jason alone, emphasizing that he was a grown man who had seen the world's darkness and was making a difference. Inko felt torn, insisting she needed to be there for her son. Mirai reiterated that Jason did not need her interference, warning that any negative remarks about someone Izuku cared for could lead to dire consequences. Inko reluctantly agreed to keep her distance, while Mirai pondered how to spend the next 2 hours. Meanwhile, Jason arrived at his destination, dismounting his bike and ensuring he had his gear. After a brief warm-up, he kicked down the door, triggering an alarm. Yakuza members rushed in, recognizing him as Red Hood. They were intimidated by his presence, realizing they were outnumbered yet facing a formidable opponent. Jason, fueled by anger, prepared to unleash his wrath. He charged at the Yakuza, dodging their gunfire and taking them down one by one. He activated his abilities to enhance his strength, using explosives to devastate the remaining members. Overhaul, observing from a distance, ordered his ally Jetstream to confront Jason, but Jetstream preferred to face him alone. As the battle raged on, Jason sucked to his swords, cutting through the Yakuza with precision. He taunted them, showcasing his skills and leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. The mansion was soon littered with bodies, and Jason expressed his reluctance to clean up the aftermath. He made his way toward the mansion's entrance, announcing his presence as Red Hood. Scanning the area, he discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Using his shotgun, he created an entry point and descended into the depths of the mansion. Inside, Overhaul was anxious as he realized Jason had arrived. Jetstream, confident in his abilities, prepared to confront Jason. The two met in a grand room where they acknowledged each other's presence. Jason respected Jetstream's skills but questioned his alliance with Overhaul. Jetstream revealed his motivations, seeking to test Jason's abilities, the legacy of Batman's protégé. The two engaged in a fierce duel, their swords clashing as they showcased their combat prowess. Jason managed to land a hit, surprising Jetstream, who acknowledged Jason as the second person to draw blood from him. Meanwhile, Overhaul watched the fight with a smile, convinced that Jetstream would emerge victorious. Eri, peeking through the door, observed Overhaul's anticipation, unaware of the true stakes of the battle unfolding before her. She saw Red Hood, and for some reason she wanted him to win. Eri felt a sense of desperation, wishing for salvation. The fight continued, with Jason confronting Sam Jetstream, questioning why he would allow an innocent child to be tortured. Sam acknowledged the wrongness of his actions but explained that the money was good and that he was trying to help those who had nothing. Jason pressed him on the matter, asking why he didn't join him instead. Sam admitted he felt far from redemption and believed his death would provide a significant insurance payout to help others. He revealed his intention to die by Jason's hand, wanting to go down fighting after a life of wrongdoing. Jason agreed to grant him that wish, and they prepared for their final confrontation. As they leaped back, Sam sheathed his sword, and Jason activated his Kaioken technique. They charged at each other, their weapons clashing with a powerful impact. Jason's helmet shattered, and Sam was cut across the chest but smiled as he fell. Jason knelt beside him, acknowledging Sam's bravery. Sam offered Jason his sword, expressing gratitude for allowing him to fulfill his final wish. He whispered something that surprised Jason, who promised to continue his fight and mission. Sam smiled one last time before passing away, and Jason vowed to give him a proper funeral. After healing himself, Jason grunted in pain but pressed on, determined to face Overhaul and save Eri. He declared that Overhaul's days were numbered and that he would rescue Eri from his clutches. As Jason navigated through the building, he eliminated guards without hesitation. Upon reaching the final floor, he kicked open the door to confront Overhaul, who held Eri captive. Jason demanded that Overhaul leave the girl alone, asserting that every child deserves love, and offered him a choice: surrender or face death. Overhaul dismissed Jason's words, claiming Eri was a cursed child unworthy of love. Jason countered that she had simply been dealt a bad hand and promised to show her there was hope. As a silhouette of Batman appeared beside him, Jason prepared to confront Overhaul. Meanwhile, Sir Night-Eye gathered heroes to clean up the aftermath of the raid, expressing confidence in Jason's abilities, while others voiced their admiration for him. Back in the fight, Overhaul, enraged, attempted to crush Jason. In response, Jason grabbed Eri and fled as the surroundings crumbled. Using his grappling hook, he escaped to the city. Overhaul threatened Jason, but he remained resolute, asserting that they would see about that. He fired at Overhaul, but the bullets deflected harmlessly. Jason then threw a smoke grenade and hid in an alleyway, instructing Eri to stay put while he dealt with Overhaul. Eri expressed concern for Jason's safety, but he reassured her that he would be fine. As he emerged from hiding, he faced Overhaul, who boasted about his strength. In a moment of transformation, Jason shed his helmet and began to change, growing wings and increasing in size as he transformed into his dragon form. A blazing fire enveloped the sky, drawing the attention of heroes and civilians alike. Back with Mirai and his team, they marveled at the spectacle, recognizing Jason's dragon form. Mirai reflected on the son he had neglected, who was now fighting fiercely to save a little girl. In the heat of battle, Overhaul felt fear for the first time as he charged at Jason. Jason seized him by the head, slamming him to the ground and unleashing flames that made Overhaul scream in pain. The fight escalated as Jason began to overpower him, asking how he liked the pain he had inflicted on others. The pain that Jason felt for Eri was a reflection of the suffering she endured during her time with Overhaul. As Jason confronted Overhaul, he expressed his anguish, pleading for it to stop. However, Jason's response was unwavering. He had no intention of halting his actions. With determination, he soared into the sky and descended with force, executing a powerful move that sent Overhaul crashing to the ground, leaving him broken. Transforming back into his human form, Jason approached Overhaul, kicking him to ensure he was conscious. Just then, AM and a group of heroes arrived, witnessing the aftermath of the battle. They were taken aback by the sight of Red Hood, unmasked and aiming a gun at Overhaul. AM urged Jason not to kill him, while Endeavor called out to him as his nephew. Ignoring their pleas, Jason fired, ending Overhaul's life. He then turned his attention to M but walked past him, heading into an alleyway where he found Eri cowering in the corner. Eri asked if the bad man was gone, and Jason reassured her that he was. He extended his hand with a smile, inviting her to come out from her hiding place. Trusting him, Eri reached for his hand, feeling a sense of hope that her life was about to change for the better. Jason suggested they visit his grandmother, a kind doctor, and Eri agreed. He lifted her into his arms just as the police arrived at the Yakuza base, horrified by the gruesome scene before them. Some officers were so disturbed that they had to turn away. As Hawks arrived and surveyed the chaos, he marveled at how Jason, who was now smiling and playing with Eri, had managed to accomplish such a feat. Endeavor expressed his relief that Jason was not a villain, or they would be in serious trouble. Jason informed the police that he was taking Eri to see Recovery Girl, and when one officer attempted to intervene, Jason shot him a glare that silenced him. After leaving, Jason contacted Momo and Kyoka, instructing them to meet him at his grandmother's office at UA. Eri, feeling safe in his arms, fell asleep and affectionately called him Daddy. Meanwhile, in a different realm, Thomas dragged Overhaul through hell, where Overhaul screamed for help from Lucifer, who refused to intervene. Martha, Thomas's companion, recognized Overhaul as the one who had harmed their granddaughter and asked to join in the punishment. Back at UA, Jason arrived with Eri, who was still asleep. The students were apprehensive at the sight of Red Hood, but he walked directly to his grandmother's office and knocked on the door. Recovery Girl welcomed him inside, and Jason explained that he needed her to check on Eri. After a quick examination, Recovery Girl confirmed that Eri was healthy, though she needed some vaccinations. Eri, still in Jason's arms, remained undisturbed. Momo and Kyoka entered the room, accompanied by Mirai and Nizu. They praised Jason for his actions against Overhaul and expressed concern for Eri. Mirai shared Eri's backstory, and both girls felt sympathy for her plight. As Eri stirred awake, she looked around, confused but comforted by Jason's presence. Recovery Girl returned, informing them that Eri was healthy for her age and that her scars would heal over time. Momo and Kyoka introduced themselves to Eri, who found them appealing. They asked if they could hug her, and with Jason's encouragement, Eri embraced them, feeling warmth and comfort from the two girls. Jason then presented Eri with adoption papers, explaining that he wanted to adopt her and that she would be part of their family. Eri's eyes lit up with joy as she accepted, and they all signed the documents together. Nizu, with the authority to finalize the adoption, declared it official, and the room erupted in celebration. Recovery Girl proudly announced her new status as a great-grandmother, while Momo and Kyoka reveled in their new roles as Eri's mothers. Jason, now a father, playfully asked Eri to sign a document stating she would not have any boyfriends, prompting laughter from everyone present. Outside, Inko and AM were delighted to hear the news of Jason's adoption, eager to embrace their new roles as parents. However, they were halted by Aizawa, who warned them that they would not be allowed inside. Just then, Gran Torino appeared, ready to confront All Might, ensuring that the day would be filled with unexpected events. After defeating Overhaul, GT entered the room and closed the door behind him. Jason introduced Eri to GT, explaining that he was her great-grandfather. GT acknowledged Eri's cuteness, and Jason expressed his affection for her. He then mentioned that they should head home, but suggested a shopping trip for Eri the following day. He requested a moment to speak with his grandparents, who agreed. As they stepped outside, Jason knelt down and took out a needle, injecting himself in the neck. RG questioned his actions, and Jason explained that he experienced heightened urges when overusing his dragon quirk. He clarified that the injection helped him manage these feelings, wanting to ensure that his relationships with Kyoka and Momo were based on love rather than his quirk. RG approved of Jason's decision, and unbeknownst to him, Kyoka and Momo overheard the conversation, sharing a knowing look. Jason emerged from the room as if nothing had happened, and they all headed to Momo's home, where they had invited Kyakuto and Mika. Upon arrival, they were greeted by Lloyd and Ya, who noticed Eri and inquired about her. Jason explained that Eri was their newly adopted daughter, rescued from overhaul, which stirred anger among the group. He reassured them that they wanted to provide her with a good life. Mika and Ya expressed their joy at becoming grandmothers, while Kyakuto decided to quit smoking for Eri's sake. Lloyd agreed, and Mika suggested they go shopping for Eri. Jason proposed they go the next day, and Eri's stomach growled, prompting Jason to offer to make her something to eat. They prepared dinner together as a family, and Jason felt grateful for the love and appreciation surrounding him. The next morning, Jason was busy making breakfast when Momo, Kyoka, and Eri joined him. Eri wore a new outfit she wanted to show off, and Jason complimented her beauty. Momo and Mika mentioned their mothers were waiting downstairs, but Jason insisted they have breakfast first. They called their parents, who were thankful for the meal, and Jason took care of the bill despite Lloyd and Kyakuto wanting to split it. After breakfast, they piled into the car and drove to the mall. Upon arrival, Jason held Eri's hand, marveling at the size of the store. They ventured inside, where the boys were quickly drawn to various shops. Jason made it clear that Eri should avoid certain clothing items, emphasizing the importance of appropriate attire. As Jason sat with his two fathers-in-law, they discussed how their lives would be filled with joy now that Eri was part of the family. Jason shared fond memories of his father, who had pushed him to be strong and prepared for the world. He reminisced about fun times spent together, including trips to the carnival and basketball games. Lloyd and Kyakuto acknowledged that without Batman's guidance, Jason could have easily gone down a darker path. Meanwhile, Inko, AM, and Izumi were at another mall preparing gifts for Eri. AM expressed concern about whether Jason would accept their offerings, but Inko reassured him it was for their granddaughter. Izumi supported her mother, affirming that she would be a wonderful grandmother. Back in the pet shop, Jason sought a dog for Eri, one that he could train to protect her. After discussing options with a worker, he chose an adorable puppy and decided to let Eri name him. He also purchased supplies for the dog before reuniting with the others, holding a box and walking the puppy on a leash. Momo and Eri were curious about the new addition, and Jason explained that the dog would keep Eri company as they prepared for school. Eri was overjoyed and expressed her gratitude to Jason, promising to love her new pet. Eri was excited to meet Nightwing, who approached her with a wagging tail. He sniffed her and liked her face, causing her to giggle as it tickled. Kyoka and Momo each gave Jason a kiss on the cheek, expressing their affection for him as an amazing father. Jason smiled, acknowledging their kind words and reflecting on how well his father had raised him. After a long day of shopping, Jason, Lloyd, and Kyakuto had spent a significant amount of money, but they didn't mind as long as Eri was happy. Jason considered having Uncle Nizu teach Eri for a year to help her adjust to being around people before enrolling her in school. Kyoka teased him about wanting Nizu's strictness to keep boys away from her. Jason playfully admitted that it was a possibility, but he was focused on the upcoming UA entrance exams. As they returned home, Eri was thrilled to have her own room. She eagerly showed Nightwing around the apartment and learned how to take care of him, including giving him food and water. Jason instructed Nightwing to sleep at the foot of Eri's bed to protect her, and the dog happily responded, wagging his tail. Eri praised Nightwing for being a good boy, and Kyoka called Eri to come and eat. Jason shared pictures from his past with Eri, telling her that if she ever saw those people, she should avoid them. Nightwing barked in agreement, and Jason felt content having his family around him. As the training for the entrance exams approached, Kyoka and Momo were eager to begin. They knew they had only 6 months to prepare. Jason, determined to help them improve, set the stage for their training. He planned to assess their skills without using his quirks, relying solely on his combat abilities. The training session began with Kyoka and Momo charging at him. Jason skillfully dodged their attacks, demonstrating his agility and experience. Momo created a makeshift weapon, but Jason quickly countered her moves. He caught Kyoka's leg during her kick and playfully tossed her toward Momo, causing them to collide. They regrouped and devised a plan to ensnare him with a rope, but Jason evaded their efforts, showcasing his quick reflexes. After a rigorous training session, Jason helped both girls up and shared a moment of camaraderie. He handed out water bottles to everyone, including Eri, who was delighted to be included. Eri sat on Jason's lap, curious about their activities. Jason explained that he was helping her mommies become stronger so they could protect themselves. Eri expressed her longing to be strong like her father one day, and Jason reassured her that she would have her chance when she was older. As Eri left to spend time with her grandmothers, Jason provided feedback to Kyoka and Momo about their training. He pointed out their strengths and weaknesses, emphasizing the need for quick thinking for Momo and stealthy attacks for Kyoka. They were excited about the prospect of becoming stronger. Suddenly, Lloyd informed Jason that his estranged parents had arrived. Jason felt a mix of apprehension and determination as he prepared to confront them. He instructed Eri to close her eyes and cover her ears for her protection. When he faced his parents, he demanded to know their intentions. They claimed to have brought gifts for Eri and hoped to become good grandparents, wanting to be a family again. Jason firmly rejected their attempts to manipulate him, expressing his loyalty to those who had truly supported him. He made it clear that his only family was the one he had chosen, and he would not tolerate any disrespect towards Eri or his loved ones. He stood his ground, asserting that he did not need their approval or their presence in his life. With the confrontation behind him, Jason felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was determined to focus on his family and the training ahead, ready to face whatever challenges lay in their path. Jason had already identified Mr. Potato Head's weakness, a fact that surprised Inko. He knew something that Mr. Potato Head did not, but he refused to share this information. Jason felt a deep sense of resentment for what Mr. Potato Head had done to him over the past year. The only positive outcome from their encounters was that his DNA had been altered, freeing him from the negative traits he associated with his lineage. He was determined to be a great father, just as his own father had taught him to love unconditionally. He envisioned his children achieving their dreams with his unwavering support, ready to confront anyone who dared to stand in their way. Eri, feeling frightened by the situation, expressed her concerns to Jason, who reassured her. He decided it was time for a treat and suggested they go get ice cream. Eri's excitement was palpable, and soon Momo and Kyoka joined in, eager to enjoy the outing. As they left for ice cream, Jason was reminded of the upcoming entrance exams. He had been training Momo and Kyoka diligently, and they had shown remarkable progress, building strength and confidence. Both had become more attractive, with Kyoka developing a kaguya figure and Momo becoming even more striking. Jason himself had been training hard, aware of the need to protect those he cared about. However, he was also concerned about the league's silence. Nizu had warned him that something was brewing, but the details remained unclear. Once dressed in their high school uniforms, they climbed into Jason's new car. Kyoka teased him about the family vehicle, recalling how their grandmother had disapproved of his previous car. Despite the playful banter, Jason was focused on the day ahead. As they drove toward Eri spotted her great-grandmother, which brought a smile to Jason's face. Upon arriving at the school, they were met by familiar faces. Ochako and Mina expressed their excitement at seeing Jason again, while Ida implored him to return home, revealing how much they missed him and his family. Jason, however, chose to ignore their pleas and moved on with his group, leaving them feeling dejected. As they entered the observation room, Eri rushed to greet Recovery Girl, who welcomed her with open arms. The atmosphere was warm, filled with smiles and laughter as Eri embraced her grandparents. Nizu welcomed Jason, who acknowledged him with respect. The conversation turned to the list of students, and Jason revealed his choices for candidates, including Momo, Kyoka, and Hitoshi Shinsho, who had a unique quirk that could be advantageous in various situations. Nizu considered Jason's selections and agreed to include Hitoshi in the hero class, assigning Jason the responsibility of training him. They discussed the dormitory situation, with Jason emphasizing the importance of safety for his family, especially with potential threats looming. The other teachers shared a light moment at Jason's playful sarcasm, which lightened the mood. As the entrance exams began, the students faced a written test, followed by a physical challenge. Jason observed the competitors closely, noting those who piqued his interest. The atmosphere shifted dramatically when the zero-pointer was introduced, prompting a rush of panic among the participants. Jason remained focused, ready to support those he had trained and to ensure their safety in the face of unexpected challenges. Jason observed the scene unfolding before him, noting the tension in the air. Snipe pointed out a contestant trap involving Ochako Uraraka, while Ida and Izumi stood protectively in front of her. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the area, and Jason's sniper rifle fired, sending a bullet flying through the class. It struck the zero-pointer in the head, causing it to stagger and fall back. The students were left in shock, unsure of who had made the incredible shot. In the observation room, Snipe marveled at the feat, admitting that even he could not have made such a difficult shot. Jason, with a sense of pride, mentioned that his father was a renowned gun expert and that the bullet was an EMP round, designed to disable its target. Nizu, watching the events unfold, expressed his pride in Jason, referring to him as his nephew. Midnight, admiring Jason's skills, commented on his charm and good looks. As Jason prepared to leave, Eri bid farewell to her grandparents, and they exchanged warm goodbyes. Jason then approached three girls who were heading toward Ida, Katsuki, and Shoto. With a playful smirk, he suggested the idea of sharing him with them, and to his delight, they were open to the notion. He planned to record the moment and send it to his bullies, feeling a sense of excitement about the upcoming events. As they transitioned to the next chapter, Jason gathered Momo and Kyoka, ready to embark on their day. He complimented them on their uniforms, while they questioned his choice of attire, noting that he was wearing his red hood outfit. Jason shrugged off their concerns, confident in his decision. Eri, eager to join them, was reminded to stay close to Uncle Nizu and to avoid any trouble. After loading his suitcase filled with weapons into the trunk of the car, Jason secured Eri in her booster seat and reminded her to buckle up. The drive to school was filled with smiles, as Jason reflected on his dream of attending UA. Momo and Kyoka shared in his excitement, reminiscing about their aspirations to be at the school together. Jason expressed a wish that his father could see him now, and Momo reassured him that he would be proud. Upon arriving at UA, they were greeted by Nizu, who welcomed them warmly. Eri affectionately called him Uncle Fuzzy Man, and they all prepared to head inside. Jason reminded Eri to remember his warnings about certain individuals she should avoid. With Nightwing by her side, Eri felt safe as Jason and his girlfriends made their way to Class 1A. As they entered the classroom, Jason chose not to wear his helmet, which caught Ida's attention. Ida approached him, suggesting he should wear his uniform and implying that he needed to redeem himself. Jason, however, was not in the mood for Ida's advice. In a swift motion, he grabbed Ida's head and slammed it into the desk, warning him to stay out of his way. The atmosphere in the room shifted, filled with tension as Jason made it clear that he would not tolerate any interference. Izumi tried to intervene, but Jason's glare silenced her. He asserted that they were no longer siblings and warned Aizawa to step in before things escalated further. Aizawa, unimpressed, welcomed the class to UA and announced that they would be conducting a quirk assessment test. As the students prepared for the test, Katsumi approached Momo and Kyoka, expressing her disdain for their relationship with Jason. Kyoka, quick to defend herself, retaliated with a punch, leaving Katsumi stunned. Momo and Kyoka explained that they had been training with Jason, preparing for any challenges that might arise. When the rest of the class gathered outside, they noticed Katsumi holding her throat, and Jason inquired about her condition. Kyoka explained that Katsumi had been trying to undermine their relationship with Jason. As the quirk assessment test was outlined, Aizawa reminded everyone that Jason was permitted to act as he saw fit, especially if provoked. With the tests ahead, the students braced themselves for the challenges that awaited them, knowing that Jason's presence would add an unpredictable element to the day. High jump. Jason soared through the air, his dragon wings propelling him high above the school. Momo, using a weather balloon, floated down to him, and he caught her in a bridal-style hold. She felt like a shining knight in armor, and Jason assured her that he would always be there for her. Kyoka followed suit, using her sonic booms to propel herself, and Izuku caught her in a similar manner. She wondered if she was heavy, but Jason responded that she was as light as a feather. Kyoka playfully asked him to stop touching her, but he refused. Aizawa, observing the scene, noted that Todd had achieved the highest jump and instructed everyone to move on. Sandbox jump. Jason ran toward the sandbox, executing a backflip before landing gracefully on his feet. Momo followed, jumping high and landing perfectly. Kyoka also cleared the sandbox, leaving everyone astonished by their impressive abilities. 50-meter dash. Aizawa announced a race between Todd and Ida. Ida confidently declared that he would win, but Jason activated his Kaioken technique, multiplying his power. When the race began, Ida barely saw Jason cross the finish line before he took his first step. Aizawa recorded the times. Todd finished in 0.1 seconds, while Ida took 45 seconds. Ida was left in disbelief, and Jason simply attributed his speed to rigorous training. Aizawa then called for a match between Momo Yaoyorozu and Shoka Todoroki. Shoka boasted that she would win, but Momo was determined to prove her wrong. When the race started, Shoka skated on ice while Momo used a grappling hook to pull herself ahead. Aizawa announced the results. Momo finished in 15 seconds, while Shoka took 35 seconds. Shoka was incredulous, and Momo attributed her success to her hard work and the support of her friends. Aizawa then set up a match between Kyoka Jiro and Izumi Yagi. Izumi claimed she would win, but Kyoka was ready to show her skills. As the race commenced, Kyoka propelled herself forward with her sonic booms, while Izumi used her telekinesis. Aizawa announced that Kyoka finished in 25 seconds, while Izumi took 45 seconds. Bench press. Mineta remarked on Shoji's impressive bench press of 854 kilograms, but Jason accidentally destroyed the bench press with his own strength. Aizawa noted that Jason was simply too strong. Shoka complained about the unfairness of the competition, pointing out that Momo and Kyoka had lower weights. Inko, Jason's mother, expressed her concern for her son, hoping he would find it in his heart to forgive her. Push-ups. Aizawa instructed the students to perform push-ups until they could no longer continue. After 20 minutes, everyone had stopped except for Jason, who continued effortlessly while Katsuki and Shoto struggled. Eventually, they too had to stop, and Aizawa called it enough for Jason, who acknowledged his stamina. Sit-ups. The same routine followed for sit-ups, and after 30 minutes, Aizawa once again told Jason that it was enough. Jason's stamina impressed everyone, especially Kyoka and Momo, who blushed at the thought of his endurance. Long run. Aizawa instructed the class to run until they could no longer do so. Jason asked if he could use his wings, and Aizawa agreed. After 45 minutes, Jason was finally told to stop, having outpaced everyone. Momo managed to keep up by creating a bicycle. Softball throw. For the final challenge, Aizawa instructed the students to stay within a circle and throw the ball as hard as they could. Momo went first, creating a cannon to launch the ball, achieving an impressive distance of 2,000 meters. Kyoka followed, throwing the ball into the air and creating a howling sound that propelled it high, reaching 1,900 meters. Jason then prepared for his turn, transforming dramatically and declaring his intent to experiment with his powers. He activated his Kaioken technique and unleashed a powerful punch that sent shockwaves through the area, breaking windows and sending students to the ground. Aizawa recorded an astonishing distance of 35,000 kilometers. As the class observed Jason's hand, which had been injured from the impact, Izumi rushed to him, expressing concern about his well-being. Jason brushed off her worries, demonstrating that his hand was healing itself. Smoke emanated from his arm as he endured the pain, but soon his hand returned to normal, proving his resilience. Aizawa allowed the students a brief break while he tallied the scores. In the midst of the commotion, Inko and All Might approached Izumi, who was engaged in conversation with them. They decided to check on Jason, who was deep in discussion with Momo and Kyoka. All Might attempted to reach out to Jason, but he was met with resistance, as Jason insisted he was no longer his son. Inko pleaded with him, but Jason firmly stated that only those who had been there for him could call him by nicknames. Kyoka defended Jason, reminding Izumi of the struggles he had faced and the loss of his father. Izumi retorted, but Momo insisted that they were speaking the truth, revealing the dark thoughts Jason had battled before finding support. Inko was taken aback, and All Might urged Jason to seek help. Jason challenged All Might, expressing his disdain for the hero he had become. He revealed a secret about All for One, recounting a dream where he was offered power but had declined. He smirked as he hinted that part of the previous users of the quirk was aware of All Might's actions. All Might was left in disbelief, and Jason vowed to ensure that he would be present when he confronted All for One's grandson. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as the students of Class 1A prepared for the day ahead. Eri, accompanied by Nightwing, brought a bright energy to the scene, prompting Jason to shift his demeanor as he approached her. He embraced his role as a father, delighting in her joy. Eri had just experienced a wonderful day, claiming that Mr. Fuzzy Man had shown her how to rule the world with her cuteness. Jason, fully supportive, agreed that she would indeed be the cutest dictator, envisioning her ruling with an iron fist of charm. Meanwhile, Denki felt uneasy, recalling how Jason's intense presence had once made him feel as if death was looming nearby. Kyoka, ever the realist, reminded him that Jason had two sides, a fierce protector when provoked and a warm-hearted individual when treated with kindness. Momo added that Jason was currently in his daddy mode, urging everyone not to upset Eri. Katsumi questioned the significance of this, but Kyoka pointed out Jason's past actions against Overhaul, emphasizing the seriousness of provoking him. Eri expressed her love for her father, and Jason reciprocated, reinforcing their bond. As Aizawa called the students to attention, he listed the top 3 students, with Jason and his friends taking the lead. He then instructed everyone to gather their syllabi and prepare for their move into the dorms the following day. Jason, eager to leave, gathered his belongings and those of his girlfriends before heading outside. He secured Eri in her booster seat and agreed to her request for McDonald's, showcasing his willingness to indulge her whims. However, their departure was interrupted by Inko, who confronted Jason with a lawsuit regarding his abandonment. Jason was incredulous, recalling the painful memories of his past and the choices that had led to his separation from her. Inko expressed her longing to help him, but Jason felt that her actions only served to reopen old wounds. As emotions escalated, Jason confronted Inko about her intentions, questioning whether she truly loved him. Despite her tears and pleas for forgiveness, Jason felt a deep-seated resentment, declaring that their relationship was irreparable. He left her in distress, feeling that she had never been a true mother to him. Inko's breakdown was witnessed by others, including AM, who tried to comfort her as she lamented her failures. Izumi, determined to mend the family, began to devise a plan to bring her brother back into the fold, hoping to erase the painful past. The next day, Class 1A awaited Aizawa's arrival, with Izumi inquiring about her brother's whereabouts. The group expressed their concern over Jason's changed demeanor, lamenting the loss of the sweet person they once knew. AM suggested a battle training session where they could confront Jason, hoping that a victory might restore him to his former self. As they discussed their strategies, playful banter ensued, with each student claiming their right to Jason's affections. However, Jason's fierce nature soon emerged, and he warned them against underestimating him. Aizawa stepped in to regain control, announcing the rules for their new living arrangements in the dorms. With ID cards distributed to monitor their movements, the students were reminded of the importance of adhering to curfews and seeking permission for outings. Jason, feeling a sense of freedom, noted that he had more leeway than the others, which raised questions among his classmates. As they settled into their new environment, the dynamics of their relationships began to shift, setting the stage for the challenges and adventures that lay ahead. Eri introduced Nightwing, her beloved dog, to her classmates. Aizawa explained that since Eri often talked about Ida, Nizu had allowed her to bring Nightwing along. The group gathered in a common room designed for relaxation and socializing. Katsumi suggested they could have movie nights together, but Jason declined the idea. Aizawa informed everyone about the laundry and shower facilities, emphasizing that they were separated by gender. He warned Mineta to behave himself around the girls, asserting that any inappropriate behavior would have serious consequences. As the discussion continued, Izumi expressed her disappointment at not being on the same floor as her brother, insisting on being close to him. Katsumi also voiced her longing to share a room with Jason, who explained that access to his floor required his thumbprint and that no one else would be allowed in. Aizawa left the group to their own devices, while Inko rushed to comfort Katsumi, who was upset about her situation. Meanwhile, Jason sat in a chair, sipping a glass of milk and reminiscing about his past indulgences. Kyoka and Momo reminded him of their agreement to avoid alcohol and smoking. Eri, eager to play video games, asked her father if they could play Spider-Man, to which he happily agreed. The living room became a cozy gathering place for everyone. In another part of the world, the Batman Who Laughs, known as BWL, welcomed Darth Vader. Vader inquired about the truth behind Batman's demise, and BWL confirmed that he had indeed killed him. Vader revealed his longing for revenge against Batman, who had humiliated him in the past. BWL, revealing his connection to Batman, suggested that Vader test his skills against his younger brother, Red Hood, who had been trained by Batman and might even surpass him. Meanwhile, in America, Harley Quinn arrived to inform her team of a mission. They were to travel to Japan to assist Red Hood, despite his reluctance to accept help. Harley revealed that the Batman Who Laughs was a manifestation of Bruce Wayne's darker side, and the real Bruce was still trapped within. She explained that Jason Todd was Bruce's biological son, created through a manipulation by All for One, which complicated matters further. Back in Japan, Jason was resting when Kyoka and Momo entered the room in their nightgowns, ready for bed. They settled in beside him, acknowledging the busy day ahead. The next day, Jason walked with Eri and Nightwing to Nizu's office, where he knocked on the door. Nizu welcomed him warmly, and Eri greeted him with her usual enthusiasm. Jason reminded Eri to behave well during their day of learning. Just as he was about to leave, Inko approached him, seeking a conversation. Jason, irritated, refused her request, stating his disdain for being compared to Izuku. Inko insisted on speaking, but Jason warned her to stay away from Eri, asserting that he would protect his daughter at all costs. Afterward, Jason entered the classroom to find Ochako and Izumi on the floor, having been knocked out. Mina explained that they had intervened because the two girls were claiming Jason as theirs. Jason acknowledged their actions but noted that if anyone had threatened him, the outcome would have been far worse. Aizawa entered the room, ignoring the unconscious students, and continued with the lesson. When lunchtime arrived, Jason, Kyoka, and Momo headed to the cafeteria. They spotted Eri with Mike and Nightwing. Eri excitedly called out to her father, and Jason picked her up, sharing a warm moment. They decided to order burgers, and Jason felt a sense of pride as he recognized Eri's growing resemblance to him. The atmosphere in the cafeteria was slightly tense due to Jason's imposing presence, but he remained approachable as they enjoyed their meal together. After sending Eri back to Nizu for her lessons, the group settled down, anticipating the next part of their training. Jason, aware of what was coming, felt the need to maintain a civil demeanor with his classmates. They waited patiently until the doors burst open, revealing All Might. All Might announced the day's agenda, but Jason interrupted, expressing his frustration with the way All Might had been acting. He warned All Might to take care when dealing with his daughter, Eri, and made it clear that he would not hesitate to take action if necessary. All Might acknowledged the warning, and Jason left the room. 20 minutes later, the class arrived at Fake City A, where they found Jason engrossed in his phone. Ida hesitated to approach, noticing Jason's gun aimed in his direction. Jason firmly instructed him not to come any closer. All Might began to explain the day's training, but Izumi interrupted with a bold proposition. She suggested a challenge. If they won, Jason would have to abandon his identity as Red Hood and take on a more domestic role. Jason, intrigued, countered with his own terms, proposing that if he won, 3 of them would have to leave UA permanently. Katsuki quickly agreed to the deal, while Katsumi expressed her reluctance. Shoto, confident in their abilities, insisted they would win. Jason, however, was determined to go all out, as Nizu had given him the green light to unleash his full potential. He threw a smoke bomb, obscuring the area and making his escape while his classmates struggled to regain their composure. As they entered the city, anxiety filled the air. Izumi rallied her friends, assuring them they would save Jason. Katsumi and Shoto echoed her sentiment, while Kirishima encouraged the group to bring their friend back safely. However, a dark resolve settled over Katsuki and Shoto, both vowing to confront Jason. Meanwhile, in the observation room, Kyoka and Momo admired their new hero suits, discussing their feelings about Jason's methods. They speculated about how his father, Batman, would react to their presence. Their conversation turned serious as they worried about Jason's state of mind and the potential consequences of his actions. In another part of the world, Thomas was subjected to a torturous punishment, while back at Yue, Ochako made a disturbing comment about their plans for Eri. Suddenly, a shot rang out, and Ochako collapsed, leaving her friends in shock. Jason appeared, his presence radiating a menacing aura, and he warned them that they were about to face their worst nightmares. As the chaos unfolded, Izumi noted that Ochako had passed out, which she considered a small blessing. The group was on high alert, with Katsuki and Shoto vowing to find Jason and confront him. Ida suggested they focus on their own heroics while Jason remained sidelined. In the observation room, Inko and All Might watched anxiously as Momo criticized their parenting. Kyoka echoed her sentiments, pointing out their failure to defend Jason against the harsh words of his classmates. Inko, moved by their words, resolved to stand up for her son. She firmly addressed Katsuki, Shoto, and Ida, reminding them of the respect they owed to all students and warning them of the consequences of their actions. Jason, indifferent to the unfolding drama, prepared for the next phase of his plan. He leaped down from his vantage point and stealthily navigated the streets, overhearing the students' plans to split up. He felt confident in his abilities and decided it was time to unleash his full potential. As he spotted 3 students, Mineta, Denki, and Siro, he prepared to make his move. With a swift and decisive action, he incapacitated Siro, leaving the others in shock. Jason's ruthless efficiency sent a clear message. He was not to be underestimated. As the chaos unfolded, Ida was suddenly pulled into a dark alley, unable to utter a word as Jason confronted him. Jason revealed that he had heard about Ida's girlfriend and intended to take her away, boasting that he would show her what a true man was like. Ida struggled to respond, but Jason's threat loomed over him. Meanwhile, Inko announced that Ida had been taken out, leaving the group stunned. They had been so focused on their own challenges that they had failed to notice his absence. The tension escalated as Izuku and his friends, Mina, Tsuyu, Toru, and Aoyama, walked cautiously, activating their quirks at every sound. When they heard a scream, Mina instinctively used her acid, only to find Kirishima in pain, his face injured. As the situation spiraled, Jason appeared behind Kirishima, using foam to subdue him and prevent further damage. He then swiftly incapacitated Aoyama with a shot to the leg and put Tsuyu to sleep with a freeze grenade. Toru was knocked out by a powerful blow, and Mina was soon overwhelmed as well. The announcement confirmed that several of their friends had been eliminated. Jason, reveling in his victory, taunted All Might, vowing to make his daughter miserable. He then evaded an attack from Ojiro and was ensnared by Dark Shadow. In a fierce struggle, Izuku swung Ojiro into Fumikage, knocking them both out. Koda, seeing the chaos unfold, chose to give up rather than risk further harm. With the numbers dwindling, Izuku and Katsumi felt the pressure to win, driven by the need to save Ida. They joined forces with Shoto and Katsuki, but their path was blocked by the sight of Sato and Shoji, both unconscious. Katsuki's anger boiled over as he called out for his opponents, while Shoto expressed his intentions to show Momo a good time, contrasting with Katsuki's darker threats. In the observation room, Momo and Kyoka reacted fiercely to Katsuki's words, vowing to protect their daughter. Back in the fray, the group heard a dragon's roar, revealing Jason in his dragon form. He attacked Katsuki, lifting him into the sky and expressing his intent to show the consequences of angering him. As Katsuki suffered, Jason turned his attention to Shoto, inflicting pain and taunting him about his scars. Shoka pleaded for Izuku to intervene, while Izumi vowed to save her brother from his dark path. Jason, confident in his abilities, set traps that ensnared the trio, leaving them powerless and unconscious. The announcement declared Jason the victor, and as medical bots arrived to assist the fallen students, Jason reveled in his triumph. He was greeted by Momo and Kyoka, who praised his performance. They left the scene together, with Jason feeling a sense of accomplishment. The following day, Jason, Kyoka, Momo, and Eri arrived at school, with Jason in high spirits. Kyoka shared news about their former classmates being unable to pursue heroism anymore, which Jason found amusing. They approached the school gates, where a throng of reporters awaited, eager to question All Might about his son. Jason, sensing the tension, instructed Momo and Kyoka to take Eri inside for safety before confronting the crowd himself. Aizawa noticed Jason's stance, questioning his intentions, while Mike warned that the situation could escalate. Jason pointed out the foolishness of the reporters, who were oblivious to the danger surrounding them. Just then, a portal appeared, and someone stepped through, adding another layer of intrigue to the unfolding events. As Jason lowered his gun, he felt a surge of frustration. Uncle Shota had closed the gates, and the reporters were scurrying away, leaving him to confront him. Jason expressed his disappointment, questioning why AM would accept a job knowing he had numerous enemies. He felt it was typical that others had to clean up AM's messes. With that, he left, leaving All Might feeling guilty as he made his way to his classroom. Upon entering, Jason was met with the sight of his classmates wrapped in bandages. He couldn't help but comment on their situation, wondering how it felt to be in their position. Ochako attempted to speak, but Jason interrupted, insisting that she save her excuses. He took a seat, waiting for his teacher to arrive. Kyoka informed him that their parents would be visiting with their sisters, to which Jason responded positively. Momo shared that her father was pleased with Jason's advice on stocks, leading to more family time. Kyoka echoed this sentiment, but Jason noted that both of his aunts were using that money to buy things for Eri, prompting a light-hearted exchange about whose money it really was. When Aizawa entered the room, he brought 3 female students from Class 1B with him. They greeted their boyfriends with waves, and Jason noticed their reactions, which made him smile. Aizawa introduced the new students, starting with Sona, who had the quirk of water manipulation. The next was Itsuka, who could enlarge her fists and was skilled in martial arts. Lastly, Kami introduced herself, revealing her quirk of illusion. As the trio settled in, Jason was seen whispering to Kyoka, who was blushing. He enjoyed teasing her, pressing a button that elicited a reaction from her. Aizawa acknowledged Jason's antics, and the class reacted with a mix of disbelief and amusement. Jason joked about the consequences of his seriousness, prompting a discussion about their past actions. He revealed a folder that showed the wounds his classmates had sustained, emphasizing that they were not as nice as they claimed. Aizawa shifted the focus to the next task, selecting a class president and vice president. Jason nominated Kyoka and Momo, joking about his dream of an inappropriate classroom encounter. Aizawa, unimpressed, acknowledged Jason's comment about his aunt being P-Arginine, and the class attempted to object. However, Jason's antics with a grenade prop silenced them, leading to laughter when confetti erupted. As class continued, Jason answered questions confidently, impressing Sona. When lunchtime arrived, he walked with his 2 girlfriends toward the teacher's lounge. Aizawa explained to the new students that Jason had adopted a child, which surprised them. In the lunchroom, Jason picked up his daughter, Eri, who innocently asked where babies came from. Jason found himself in a challenging position, needing to explain the concept in detail. Eri was delighted with his answer, having been curious after seeing Auntie Joki with a baby bump. As they enjoyed their lunch, Sona confronted Ida about his past treatment of Jason, expressing her disappointment. Ida admitted to lying to her, wanting to appear better than he was. Itsuka and Shoto also had their own discussions about their past mistakes, with Itsuka pointing out that Shoto was still tormenting Jason. Sona reminded them of Jason's accomplishments, highlighting the positive impact he had made. Meanwhile, Kami expressed her feelings about Jason, caught in her own frustrations with Katsuki. The atmosphere was filled with a mix of camaraderie and unresolved tensions, setting the stage for future interactions among the group. Once they finished their lunch, they changed into their hero costumes. Jason's outfit was notably different from the others. He wore the Red Hood Beyond suit, which he had crafted himself, and he was adamant that no one else could wear it. Denki, curious, asked why, and Jason explained that the suit was designed to work with his unique abilities. If someone else tried to use it, it would trigger a dangerous reaction. Mirio and Tamaki, both third-year students, joined the group, and Mirio mentioned that they were there to assist during the USJ event. Jason instructed them to protect the others while he handled any significant threats. He reassured them that Eri was safe with his grandmother and Nightwing. As they left the changing room, they spotted Aizawa, Inko, and All Might waiting by the bus. Jason approached All Might to check how much time they had left, and All Might confirmed they had 1 hour. Momo reminded everyone to behave once they arrived, and Jason playfully acknowledged her leadership. The group settled into the bus, where Izumi attempted to sit next to Jason, but Momo and Kyoka took the seats beside him instead. As they traveled to the USJ, the conversation turned to the strength of the Big Three, with Mirio claiming the title of leader. Aizawa noted Mirio's potential to become Japan's next #1 hero, while Jason expressed his support for Mirio, stating he didn't aspire to that title himself. The class watched Jason with a mix of admiration and envy as he sat comfortably with his 2 girlfriends. Inko, worried about her son, expressed her longing to ensure he had everything he needed. Aizawa, observing the situation, muttered his disapproval of the class's behavior. As they arrived at the USJ, Izuku checked his weapons, and Jason greeted his sister, who was there to help train them. She reminded them that they needed to learn to use their quirks responsibly. Once inside, Jason prepared for action, drawing his guns as he sensed trouble approaching. Aizawa instructed Jason to be cautious, and Jason warned Ida to get help. Ida hesitated, but Momo urged him to listen. Just then, a portal opened, and a group of villains emerged, led by Orikamaru, who threatened Jason. Jason responded confidently, ready to defend his friends. As the villains hesitated, Jason activated his powers and charged at them, swiftly taking them down. The rest of Class 1A watched in awe as Jason showcased his strength. Meanwhile, Kurogiri appeared, prompting Kyoka to drop a flashbang to disorient him. Momo seized the opportunity to throw Kurogiri back, revealing their determination to protect their classmates. Inko witnessed Jason saving her from a villain and felt a surge of gratitude. As the battle intensified, Orikamaru revealed a monstrous Nomu, a creature created from dead bodies, and commanded it to attack. Jason prepared to confront Orikamaru, instructing Aizawa to assist the others. As they faced off, Izuku engaged with Orikamaru, while Momo and Kyoko worked together to dodge the Nomu's attacks. Katsuki and Shoto, eager to prove themselves, charged at the creature but found their efforts ineffective against its regenerative abilities. Kurogiri explained that the Nomu was designed to absorb shock and heal rapidly, a gift from All for One. The battle raged on, with each hero determined to protect their friends and overcome the formidable threats before them. As the battle raged on, Shoto and Katsuki found themselves in a dire situation. Both of them screamed in pain as they were slammed to the ground, their legs pinned beneath the weight of an overwhelming force. Tears streamed down their faces as they struggled against the crushing pressure, feeling as if their lives were slipping away. Katsumi, witnessing their suffering, called out for help. Shoka, noticing Izuku engaged in a fierce fight against Richie, expressed concern for their friends. Izuku was preoccupied, unable to assist them in their moment of need. Katsumi pleaded desperately for someone to intervene. Meanwhile, Momo and Kyoka attempted to aid their classmates by launching shurikens at the Nomu. Although they struck true, the creatures seemed unfazed. The cries for help from Katsuki and Shoto echoed in the air, filled with anguish and fear. Katsuki lamented his pain, while Shoto expressed his fear of suffering. Kyoka reflected on the pain her friend had endured, while Katsuki insisted that his situation was different. Momo, determined to help, asked if they wanted assistance, to which both boys eagerly agreed. As they strategized, Momo noticed a critical injury on the Nomu's brain that had not healed. In another part of the battlefield, Jason and Orikamaru clashed fiercely, feeling the weight of their struggle. Orikamaru attempted to strike with a snake-like attack, but Jason countered with precision, recalling the skills he had learned from Batman. As Orikamaru transformed into a towering serpent, Jason decided to shift into his dragon form, ready to face the challenge head-on. Momo and Kyoka continued to evade the Nomu's attacks, impressing their classmates with their newfound abilities. Mina and Ochako expressed disbelief at their skills, while Aizawa explained that Red Hood had trained them, instilling in them the ability to handle themselves in combat. Katsumi, eager to learn, asked Aizawa if she could train with Red Hood, but Aizawa dismissed the idea, emphasizing that Red Hood would not train anyone, even for a price. As the battle unfolded, the group began to notice the aftermath of Jason's earlier confrontations, with defeated villains strewn about, instilling a sense of fear among them. Kyoka landed a powerful punch on the Nomu, sending it staggering back. Seizing the opportunity, Momo approached from behind, grabbing the creature by the neck and slamming it to the ground. She quickly fashioned a grenade and tossed it into the monster's mouth, retreating just in time for the creature to explode from within. Kurojairi, witnessing the chaos, cursed under his breath as Kyoka prepared to confront him. Jason reminded her that they needed Kurojairi alive for information. Just as he was about to speak, Orikamaru lunged at him, but Jason skillfully dodged and countered, grabbing the snake's tail and spinning him around, sending him crashing into a nearby boat. Momo informed Aizawa that Red Hood had infiltrated an all-for-one base and uncovered crucial information regarding Oboro Shirokamo. Aizawa initially doubted her claims, but Momo insisted they had proof. Jason suggested that Aizawa reveal something only Oboro would know to convince Kurojairi. As Aizawa recalled a childhood memory of Oboro searching for a lost puppy in the rain, Kurojairi reacted, revealing a flicker of recognition. Aizawa rushed to him, calling out Oboro's name. Kurojairi, in pain, insisted that he was Kurojairi now, pleading for an end to his suffering. Jason, recognizing the urgency of the situation, prepared to assist Aizawa. He unleashed a powerful attack on Orikamaru, tearing through the creature's defenses. Despite Orikamaru's desperate attempts to retaliate, Jason swiftly ended the fight, cutting off the villain's head. As Jason turned to aid his friends, he and Aizawa found themselves suspended in midair, confused by the sudden shift in their surroundings. A mysterious figure revealed himself, stating that their leader wanted Kurojairi to return. Despite Aizawa's struggles and injuries, Jason warned the figure not to move, threatening to sever the strings that bound them. Doflamingo, the figure in question, expressed delight at the prospect of confronting Red Hood but noted that backup had arrived. Just then, the doors swung open to reveal Ida and reinforcements, prompting Jason to seize the moment. He cut the wires binding him and glared at Doflamingo, vowing revenge and warning that their days were numbered. Doflamingo laughed, unfazed by the threat. Kurojairi created a portal, and as they stepped through, Aizawa made a heartfelt promise to his brother, Oboro, vowing to save him no matter the cost. Just as the portal closed, Aizawa fell to the ground, frustrated and angry, striking the ground with his fists. Jason, observing the scene, questioned Aizawa about his heroism, urging him to seize the opportunity to bring Oboro back. Aizawa demanded an explanation, and Jason revealed that Oboro was the only one he would spare, citing the innocence of his brother. The narrative shifted back to the aftermath of the battle, where Jason approached his two girlfriends, embracing them and acknowledging their bravery. Nizu, the principal, commented on Jason's lack of trouble during the encounter, to which Jason apologized for the chaos caused. Nizu reassured him that All Might would handle the cleanup. Jason suggested a meeting with the staff to discuss Kurojairi's connection to Oboro, prompting surprise from Midnight and Present Mike. He informed them that another member of the League of Villains had been eliminated, leaving only 9 remaining, and that a bounty would be credited to him for Orikamaru. As the police and medical personnel arrived to take Katsuki and Shoto to the hospital, an EMT approached Jason, offering medical assistance, which he declined. The EMT, a fan of Jason, requested a photograph, and he happily obliged. Meanwhile, a villain attempted to escape, pleading for mercy and claiming he no longer wished to be a villain. Jason instructed Nizu to take him to an interrogation room. Inko, concerned for Jason's well-being, offered to cover any medical expenses, but he insisted he was fine and walked away from her. Jason then joined his girlfriends, discussing their plans for the money they had acquired. Kyoka suggested saving it for their wedding, and Momo agreed, envisioning Eri as the flower girl. They discussed the need for groomsmen, and Momo reassured Jason that he would find them. Once everything was settled, they returned to the school, where they were greeted by Eri, who rushed to her parents. Jason reassured her that everyone was safe, despite Katsuki being in the hospital. He thanked his grandmother for babysitting Eri, and they all waited for their families to arrive. As the parents gathered, Jason was recognized by Mr. Uraraka, who expressed gratitude for saving his daughter. Jason, still insisting on his identity as Jason Todd, led the group to the classroom, where they watched him prepare for the interrogation of the captured villain. Jason asserted that he would extract all the information he needed, but the villain remained defiant, claiming he would reveal nothing. Jason, however, was determined and began to employ more aggressive tactics. The onlookers were shocked by his brutality as he slammed the villain's head against the table, breaking his nose. As the interrogation continued, Jason twisted the villain's arm, demanding answers. The villain finally revealed that the League of Villains had a laboratory in the Red District, where they preyed on the homeless. He also mentioned that another member, named Darth Vader, was involved and that they were attempting to recruit Stain, the hero killer. In a moment of cold resolve, Jason ended the villain's life without hesitation, leaving the parents of Class 1A in disbelief at the transformation of the boy they once knew. They were confronted with the reality of his new persona, a far cry from the innocent child they had raised. Aizawa noted that Jason's interrogation skills mirrored those of Batman, while others expressed a longing to meet Jason's father. The conversation turned to speculation about what Jason's father might be doing, with some suggesting he was suffering in hell, while others imagined him ruling as a king. As Jason re-entered the room, he approached his family, seeking guidance on the next steps. Nizu informed him that they would be enhancing the school's security, a suggestion Jason welcomed. He also addressed Aizawa, Midnight, and Present Mike, indicating that they had much work ahead of them. Jason had a plan to bring back Oboro, and it required the help of 3 friends. Mike was eager to do anything to bring their friend back, and Aizawa agreed, while Midnight nodded in support. Jason suggested they discuss the details later, as it was time to head back. All Might, feeling a sense of sadness, invited them to dinner at his home, reminiscing about old times. However, Jason declined the offer, leaving the classroom with Eri, Momo's family, and Kyoka's family, which left All Might feeling disheartened. Tensei understood Jason's pain, acknowledging that he had suffered greatly. Natsuo expressed his sympathy, while Fuyumi pondered what would happen if Jason confronted all the League villains. Tensei believed that Jason deserved to be happy and should return to a place where he could find joy. Ida, concerned, tried to speak up, but Tensei interrupted, blaming Ida for Jason's current state. He believed Jason should have taken on the mantle of Igmenian instead of Ida. Meanwhile, Sona, Kami, and Itsuka stood by the door, their faces flushed as they processed what had just happened. Days passed since the incident at USJ, and everyone was taking it easy in their dorms, with Shoto and Katsuki finally healed. Katsuki expressed his frustration about the tough training from their instructor, while Shoto acknowledged the strength of their recent foe. Katsumi remarked on how close they had come to disaster, and Shoko reluctantly admitted that without Kyoka and Momo, they might have faced a tragic outcome. They all realized that Jason, Kyoka, and Momo had been the only ones truly prepared for the fight. Izumi reflected on Jason's training under Batman, noting that he had changed and was no longer the same Izuku they once knew. She felt responsible for what had happened and recognized how fortunate they were to be alive. Ida remained hopeful that they could still save Jason, believing that a conversation could bring him back, even if it required force. Ojiro, feeling defeated, suggested they accept their loss, but Toru insisted that Jason had to return to his former self. Sona questioned why they would bully him, revealing that it was Katsumi's brother who had suggested such behavior. Kami and Itsuka echoed their disapproval, urging the group to reconsider their actions. Izumi, still holding on to hope, speculated that if Jason defeated All for One, he might return to being her brother again. As they spoke, the elevator doors opened to reveal Momo and Kyoka, accompanied by Eri, who carried a small suitcase. Momo reminded Eri to behave with her grandparents, and Eri happily agreed. Kyoka encouraged Eri to have fun, and as they prepared to leave, Momo thanked her mother for taking care of Eri. After they departed, Katsuki, Shoto, and Ida felt tired and headed to their bedroom, only to suddenly find themselves tied to chairs and unable to move. They were confused and alarmed when they noticed Jason sitting in a living room, seemingly ready to entertain them. As they watched, Momo and Kyoka approached Jason, and he inquired about their feelings toward the boys. To their shock, the girls expressed doubts about their love for them, revealing that they no longer felt the same way after learning about Jason's actions. The boys were taken aback, unable to comprehend what they were hearing. Unbeknownst to them, Jason had lit a special candle that affected the girls. As the atmosphere shifted, the girls began to feel an overwhelming attraction toward Jason. They found themselves drawn to him, and the situation escalated as they began to undress, revealing their intentions. The boys watched in disbelief as their girlfriends seemed to forget about them entirely, captivated by Jason. The scene unfolded in a way that left the boys feeling helpless and confused, unsure of what would happen next. As Jason and Sona shared an NTMT moment, Sona found herself lost in the experience, comparing it to her past encounters. She felt a rush of excitement, realizing how different this was from her previous relationship. Jason held her waist firmly, and they reached a peak of pleasure together, leaving Sona breathless as she collapsed onto the floor. Sona thought about how Jason surpassed Tenya in every way, igniting a new longing within her. Meanwhile, Jason, eager for more, turned his attention to Itsuka. He pulled her into bed, and she took the lead, enjoying the thrill of the moment. Jason playfully smacked her, causing her to squirm with delight. Itsuka expressed her longing for new experiences, wanting to explore different positions rather than sticking to the usual. In a bold move, Jason lifted Itsuka, continuing their passionate encounter while standing. She reveled in the exhilaration, unaware that her boyfriend, Shoto, was watching from a distance, heartbroken by the sight. Jason brought Itsuka to her silex, and as she lay breathing on the floor, Kami approached him with a playful leap. Kami expressed her frustration with Katsuki and her eagerness for a new experience. Jason, fueled by his powers, engaged with her energetically, both of them lost in the moment. Their connection deepened as they shared an intense physical bond, and after a lengthy encounter, Kami fell to the ground, breathless. Jason, feeling invigorated, announced that his night was far from over. He continued to engage with the girls, leaving them all exhausted and satisfied by morning. As he dressed, he noticed the three girls from earlier, who were visibly upset. He taunted Shoto about his sister, hinting at his intentions with a smirk. Meanwhile, Shoka and Katsumi were heartbroken for their brothers, realizing the impact of the girls' breakups. They witnessed Jason and Itsuka together, confirming their suspicions about the reasons behind the girls' decisions. Later, Jason headed to the school to discuss his findings with the staff. Upon arrival, he addressed Aizawa and the others, revealing a shocking truth about Oboro's transformation into Kurogiri. He explained that Oboro had been turned into a Nomu, controlled by All for One and Shigaraki, despite the belief that he had died. The staff listened intently as Jason detailed the circumstances surrounding Oboro's transformation and the implications it had for their team. He emphasized the need for caution, suggesting that a traitor might be among them, someone who had shared information with their enemies. Nizu and the others were taken aback by this revelation. Jason proposed a plan to investigate further, using their enemies' hatred against them to uncover the truth. He expressed his determination to protect those who were innocent, including Oboro, and to confront the real threats head-on. As the meeting progressed, Jason made it clear that he did not trust everyone present with sensitive information, leading to a dramatic moment where he had Inko and another individual removed from the discussion. The atmosphere was tense as they prepared to delve deeper into the mystery surrounding their school and the potential dangers lurking within. Jason had no longing for anyone to come to UA. Despite his cold demeanor, he did not stop them from pursuing their dreams of becoming heroes. He was in Japan for a singular purpose: to confront All for One and the Batman Who Laughs, and to eliminate them both before returning to Gotham. Nizu informed Jason that the President of the United Nations was sending additional heroes to Japan for extra security. Jason understood the implications of this development. Aizawa noted that someone very important was arriving, and if that person were harmed, Japan would be blamed, potentially leading to war. Jason speculated about the identity of this important figure but decided it was time to leave. Suddenly, alarms blared from their phones, drawing their attention to scenes of utter destruction in the city. Heroes and police lay incapacitated, and a figure stood amidst the chaos. Aizawa recognized him as Muscular, a notorious killer known for his mercilessness. Izuku expressed concern over Muscular's reputation as a true monster, while Mike pointed out the presence of the wild pussycats, who were desperately trying to protect a child hostage. Muscular demanded the presence of Red Hood, threatening to kill the child if he did not arrive within 10 minutes. The child, Kota, filled with rage, vowed to take revenge for his parents' deaths. Mandalay, his aunt, pleaded for his safety, while Tiger and Pixie Bob echoed her concerns, insisting that the child was innocent. Jason observed the situation, recognizing the hatred in Kota's eyes, a reflection of his own past. He decided to intervene, dismissing the need for backup and leaving the room to prepare for the confrontation. He changed into his Red Hood outfit, armed himself, and leaped from the window, unfurling his wings to soar toward Muscular. As the battle commenced, Muscular threatened Kota, who was determined to avenge his parents. Muscular taunted him, asserting that killing was irreversible and that Kota was too weak to harm him. Just as he was about to strike, Jason intervened, delivering a powerful kick that sent Muscular crashing into a wall. He urged Kota to stay back, insisting that he would only be a hindrance. Jason then approached Muscular, declaring that this was his fight. Muscular was eager for a confrontation, but Jason had other intentions. He was ready to eliminate him. As Muscular charged, Jason effortlessly caught his punch and countered with a devastating blow, using Kaioken to enhance his strength. The crowd watched in awe as Jason displayed brutal efficiency, demonstrating why he was known as the symbol of death. Ragdoll expressed concern for Jason's ruthlessness, while others noted that he posed a greater threat than Muscular. Kota, witnessing Jason's actions, felt a mix of admiration and fear. Jason shot Muscular in the feet, causing him to scream in agony. He confronted Muscular, asserting that he eliminated those who harmed society, vowing to stop evil at any cost. Muscular, empowered by the Batman Who Laughs, transformed, growing larger and stronger. Jason, undeterred, prepared to unleash his full power. He activated Kaioken times 10, enveloped in a red aura, and charged at Muscular with incredible speed. The ground shook beneath them as he delivered a series of punishing blows, culminating in a fiery assault that left Muscular severely injured. As the dust settled, Muscular lay in a weakened state, pleading for his life. Jason, however, reminded Kota of his parents' legacy, urging him to consider the weight of his actions. Kota, torn between vengeance and honoring his parents, ultimately chose to uphold their legacy. In a shocking turn, Jason executed Muscular without hesitation, leaving the world stunned by his ruthless decision. Kota received his gun back from Jason, who then squatted down to his level. Jason gently patted Kota's head and expressed his understanding of the pain that comes from losing family. He shared that he had lost his adoptive father, the man he considered his true dad, and he empathized with what Kota was going through. Jason reminded Kota that he might feel alone, but he had to remember that he was not. He recalled how, despite his father's absence, he focused on what remained: his family, the ones who had not abandoned him and who had always been there for him. He encouraged Kota to look at the group nearby, reminding him that they were his family too, even if they were not related by blood. It was love that truly made a family. Kota, overwhelmed by emotion, hugged Jason tightly, surprising him. Jason returned the embrace, feeling a connection with the boy. Back at UA, Momo observed that they had gained a son, while Kyoka agreed. Eri called out to Jason, asking if the boy would be her brother, to which Jason responded that he was unsure but hopeful. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and camaraderie as Jason expressed his pride in Koda's determination to become stronger and a hero. As Jason prepared to leave, Koda shyly asked if they could hang out sometimes. Jason agreed but advised him to ask his aunt for permission first. Mandalay, Koda's aunt, readily consented, and Jason reminded Koda to behave. With that, Jason departed, leaving Koda feeling joyful and no longer sad. Meanwhile, in a dark place, Martha and Thomas discussed their latest encounter with Muscular, who had harmed a child. They reveled in the idea that no one would come to help him. Back with Jason, he returned to find Eri jumping into his arms, excitedly asking about Koda. Jason reassured her, and Kyoka praised him for his efforts. Feeling hungry, Jason shifted the conversation. As the class walked back to school after the USJ incident, they awaited their teacher's arrival. Momo inquired about Koda's attempts to contact Jason, who explained that Koda likely wanted to spend time with his aunt. He reflected on the bond he shared with Koda, noting their similar experiences of loss. Izumi, feeling frustrated, held back her thoughts about Jason, knowing it was best to remain silent. Momo then asked about any inheritance Jason might have received from Batman, to which he explained that Batman owned multiple hotels and casinos in the States, and he was working with Uncle Lloyd to manage it. Jason mentioned his longing to secure a future for his children, which elicited a teasing response from Kyoka about not wanting their daughters to date. Their conversation was interrupted when Aizawa entered the classroom with an announcement. He informed them about the upcoming sports festival, despite the recent villain attack, emphasizing the importance of continuing to train future heroes. He mentioned that Red Hood's presence would deter villains from attacking the event. Aizawa revealed that a special guest, Star and Stripes, would be attending the festival, which surprised Jason, who had a complicated history with her. Aizawa listed other heroes who would be present, including Catwoman, Supergirl, Starfire, Raven, Hawkgirl, Black Canary, and Harley Quinn. Jason shared his past encounters with these heroes, particularly highlighting Harley's transformation after a traumatic event in his life. As Aizawa prepared the class for the arrival of these powerful heroes, Jason expressed his anticipation, confident that they would showcase their strength. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and curiosity about what was to come, as the students prepared for the challenges ahead. Jason observed the three boys in front of him, noting their expressions of curiosity and determination. Aizawa informed them that they had 2 weeks to train, emphasizing the importance of the upcoming event. Jason inquired if he would be participating, to which Aizawa confirmed that Nizu wanted a show. Jason understood the stakes and was prepared to deliver. Aizawa reminded Jason that Red Hood would also be able to take interns, though he warned that Red Hood might not offer them a chance. Jason expressed that he only liked individuals he deemed useful and already had someone in mind from the general course. He stood up and left the classroom, heading toward the general course area. Upon opening the door, he found Mike teaching a class. Jason called out to a student named Hitoshi, who was surprised to be singled out. Hitoshi was questioned about his actions, but he insisted he had done nothing wrong. Jason expressed his longing to train Hitoshi, who was hesitant due to his villainous reputation. Jason firmly stated that quirks do not define a person, it is their actions that do. He encouraged Hitoshi to embrace the path of a hero and asked if he was ready for the training. Hitoshi responded with enthusiasm, and Jason instructed him to run around the school 100 times. Meanwhile, Momo and Kyoka were planning their own training when they were approached by Saiko and Kami, who admired their skills. Momo and Kyoka agreed to teach them what they had learned from their own training sessions. As the girls left, Shoto, Katsuki, and Ida remained silent, contemplating their next move. Katsumi suggested they figure out a plan, while Izumi proposed a wager to bring back their absent friend. However, the group quickly realized the risks involved, leading to a discussion about the need for a more thoughtful approach. Outside, Jason sat on a bench, enjoying a moment of solitude. His peace was interrupted when Izuku and Kathleen arrived, along with a group of female heroes. Jason acknowledged their presence but noted that their visit likely wasn't just for socializing. Kathleen confirmed his suspicion, and Jason called for the other girls to join them. As the group gathered, Jason was greeted warmly by the female heroes, who expressed their admiration for him. However, he quickly reminded them that their presence could cause complications. Kathleen explained that they were there to discuss a serious matter involving the Batman who laughs. Jason's interest piqued, and he urged them to get to the point. Harley revealed that they had uncovered troubling information about the Joker's past in Japan, including experiments involving his DNA. This revelation led Jason to realize that the man he had considered his father was not who he thought. The implications of this discovery weighed heavily on him, and he shared his suspicions with the group. As the conversation continued, Jason instructed Kathleen to move aside just as Mirko attempted to attack her. Jason warned Mirko with a shot fired into the air, reminding her not to threaten him. Mirko explained her intentions to gauge Kathleen's strength, and Lady Nagant expressed curiosity about what made Red Hoods so special. Jason cautioned them about the dangers of underestimating their enemies, while Kyoka and Momo expressed their confusion about the presence of hyenas nearby. The animals seemed protective of Eri, adding an unexpected twist to the unfolding events. Eri was known as the Snowball Princess, a title that brought her joy. As she prepared for her stay during the sports festival, Aizawa guided her and her companions to their quarters. However, Mirko interrupted, expressing her longing to fight Jason, the Red Hood. Nagant joined in, eager for the challenge, while Kathleen offered her assistance. Aizawa acknowledged their requests but reminded Jason that he had the day off. They agreed to postpone the fight until the following day. As they departed, Jason found himself alone with his 5 girlfriends and his daughter, Eri. She excitedly asked what they would do next, and Jason reminded her of the promised sale. Eri cheered and ran off to change, leaving Jason to notice All Might nearby, visibly upset. Jason confronted All Might, questioning why he was crying. All Might expressed his regret for failing Jason and his longing to be a father again, hoping for a chance to start anew. Jason, however, was not interested in reconciliation, pointing out the pain All Might had caused him over the years. He made it clear that while Bruce was his biological father, Thomas Wayne was the one who truly mattered to him. Jason vowed to confront All Might, determined to make him face the consequences of his actions. Leaving All Might and Inko in distress, Jason spent time with his family. Meanwhile, May and her classmates in the support course were busy working on Red Hood's weapons, excited about the project. They discovered blueprints featuring Red Hood's symbol, hinting at the significance of the weapons they were creating. As the sports festival approached, Class 1A gathered in the stands alongside staff and heroes from the USA. Observations were made about Jason's transformation. He seemed to have found a bit of light in his heart. Kyoka and Momo were recognized as significant figures in his life, credited with helping him retain his humanity. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as the festival commenced. Eri, ever protective, stopped the hyenas from attacking Nightwing, showcasing her strength. As the fights began, Jason prepared for his match against Mirko, Star and Stripes, and Lady Nagant. He warned them of his capabilities, and the 3 female heroes took their positions, ready for battle. Mirko launched the first attack, but Jason skillfully countered her moves, showcasing his training and agility. The spectators watched in awe as Jason kept pace with the formidable opponents. Aizawa noted Jason's impressive skills, while others commented on his ability to anticipate danger. As the fight progressed, Jason demonstrated his prowess, using his chains to thwart attacks and defend against bullets. He captured Lady Nagant, leaving only Mirko and Star and Stripes to contend with. As the battle intensified, Jason prepared to unleash his full power, transforming his weapons and readying himself for the final confrontation. The excitement in the stands grew as everyone cheered for their hero, confident in his ability to prevail against the odds. Jason skillfully dodged an attack from Mirko, leaping over her and positioning his sword against her throat. He commanded her to yield, and she complied. Aizawa noted that Mirko had surrendered, leaving only one opponent remaining. Isis decided it was time to settle the matter and transformed herself to appear larger. Jason acknowledged her intent and transformed into a dragon as they charged at one another. He skillfully evaded Kathleen's punch and aimed for her face, unleashing a powerful attack known as the Fire Dragon King Iron Destruction Fist. The strike landed solidly, causing her silhouette to vanish as she was sent crashing into the wall, unconscious. Aizawa declared that Star and Stripes was knocked out cold, naming Red Hood the winner. Jason reverted back to his human form and walked toward the edge, where Eri jumped down, and he caught her. Eri expressed her admiration for his performance, calling him awesome. Jason thanked her, and Momo praised him as well, along with Kyoka, Sona, and Itsuka, who all acknowledged his impressive skills. Kami agreed, and Jason expressed his gratitude for their support. Harley then inquired about his plans for the Batman Who Laughs. Jason explained that while he knew the villain was his father, he viewed him more like a brother. He vowed to do everything he could to save him, but if he failed, he would ensure that he would not harm anyone again. Harley understood his resolve, and Jason suggested they all go get something to eat, as he was feeling hungry. They returned to the dorms, where Inko had something to say but chose to remain silent to avoid causing a scene. Meanwhile, in the League of Villains, the Batman Who Laughs spoke to Albert Weskier, asking how he felt about the enhancements made to his body. Albert expressed his admiration for the improvements. The Batman Who Laughs revealed that he had enhanced Weskier's virus to boost his powers, although it would not turn people into zombies. Weskier confirmed that he desired ultimate power and would keep his promise to kill Red Hood for the Batman Who Laughs. As the other members of the villains speculated about the improvements Albert had received, all for one expressed confidence that Weskier would not fail him. Shigaraki and Kurojiri affirmed their loyalty to their Emstar. All for one envisioned ruling Japan and then the world with Weskier's assistance. Doflamingo wondered who would be next if Albert failed in his mission, while Vader remarked that the next person would either succeed or fail based on their skills. Muzan expressed his lack of doubt in their abilities, and Red Skull wished for the best man to win. The chapter concluded, with the next chapter promising the beginning of the sports festival, followed by an obstacle race and a cavalry battle, before a break.